Hello, hola, salut. A very good morning to you. Welcome aboard the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakwa, and I'm doing this together with Bernice Abubedu Lanza. We're starting a new week, and we're glad to be here to start off with you. Just stay with us in the course of these 4 hours, and let's deliver like you know we do, right here on the AM show. Thank you for joining. Now, coming up shortly, the news will be served to you hot, bringing you all the scoop in Ghana and beyond. And then for the news review, we'll be joined by Suleimana Brahima. Who's he? Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. He will be joining the conversation. Now, from there, we're going to take a sure bite at the Cecilia Dapaah saga. And a lot has been happening. We've all heard of it. $1 million, 300,000 euros, millions of CDs, suits, among others. But should her resignation bring some sort of end to the matter? Should it taper off at that? Some are saying we should push for criminal charges. Some are saying we should investigate from the taxman how she got her money and whether she paid taxes on them. Would you keep $1 million at home? Well, there's actually no law that says you cannot do same once they have gone through the right processes. So what can we learn from the Cecilia Dapaah situation, and for maybe those other people who are politically exposed? What should happen to the money that they may be keeping at home? We'll be getting into that conversation with Koko Paintil. He's a lawyer, together with Dr. Smaila Asa. He's a development expert, CK Tadam University of Technology and Applied Sciences, as well as Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, a political scientist at the University of Ghana. That's the first batch of our conversation, but there's another crucial bit. We'll be telling you about the currency development series. It's something in the works that is going to blow your mind. It's all about development for the nation, but in a specific way. We'll tell you a bit about that when we host some of the organizers later on the show. We've also got a date with Absa Bank on the show as well. Yeah, we're going to be talking money. Now, as part of its innate culture of always staying ahead of competition and meeting customers' needs at the point of their need, Absa Bank Ghana has launched a game-changing financial services platform for its corporate and institutional customers in Ghana and the sub-region. We'll be telling you a bit more about that later on the show. But let us know what you think about our show, yeah? Shoot your messages, positive or negative. They help us build the show. And let's do this for God and country. On that note, let's settle for the news up next. Thank you for staying with us. Time now for the AM News. And in our first story, authorities at the Leklebi Senior High School in the Afajato South District in the Volta region are asking government to renovate dilapidated structures on campus. They say these structures, built in 1965, are weak and hampering smooth academic work. Elvis Washington highlights their plight in this report.
In 1965, by the late Professor Alexander Kuma, an esteemed educationist and philanthropist, Leklebi Senior High School is now plagued by multiple issues that cast a shadow over the well-being of its students. With a current student population of under 1,000 and majority of students residing on campus as boarders, the school faces a lot of challenges that hampers the academic development. However, the most alarming concerns lies with an abandoned classroom block that has remained in a state of neglect for almost 4 years. Despite its evident structural defects, the school has no alternative but to utilize the compromised space, risking the safety of students. Visible cracks, a disjointed ceiling, and leakages during rainfall further demonstrate the precarious condition of the structure. The dining hall, serving as a multi-purpose facility, also falls far short of acceptable standards. The senior girls and boys prefects of the school throw some light on the many challenges facing the school.
Yes. When it's raining, sometimes they'll have to come out of the classroom and then join the seniors in their classroom. And even in my class, I'm an agricultural science student. My class leaks whenever it rains. We have inadequate furniture for the classrooms and then any other occasion at all. The first and then second years, even the third years most especially, but the first years of all, whenever it's time for classes, they would have to move to the long hall, carry benches to their classrooms and then study.
And we have inadequate infrastructures in the school. Classroom blocks is inadequate in the school, so we suffer and we are clustered in the room. And the room too, the classroom blocks, they are fragile, they are too old for, and it's risky to be in it. And we have abandoned system, uncompleted building over there, and some students who they are living or studying inside, and it's very risky for their lives to be.
The unhappy kitchen staff could not hide their frustration from the cameras.
Agbanyo omedeo tukuyo omede makudetio ganto omede makanu gatie ochere omede namu for the vignola osugbo abolo pon me la signe hemele abolo meon me glopete obe wa panam ba sere fifi enyi me senyare kemu afoji mele miasio tile po me mele miasio mi den afoji le gbe me efi mi ye na nu go dole.
Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the former Students Association, including John Smart Aja, the national president of the Old Students Association, who is also the current schools board chairman, have stepped in to assess the situation and seek assistance from the relevant authorities.
Yeah, we wrote several letters to get fund for assistance, but it's like there's lack of fund. Since the inception of the school, you could see that apart from the girls' dormitory and then the boys' dormitory, there has not been any new infrastructure in the school. So these classroom blocks were there since I was here in the 1980s. And up till now, it is still like that. Nothing has been done. We are appealing to government to come to our aid so that our infrastructure should be developed. Infrastructure should collapse now. It will create another.
Ms. Celestina Doboy, a former assistant girls prefect, also shared her thoughts on the dire state of the school.
This morning, I'm with a heavy heart, especially about discipline in the school. It's nothing to write home about. There is a call for all students, home and abroad, please. If you know LESEC has done something good for you, please come back home.
Now, farmers in Kare and Gorogo in the Talensi district of the Upper East region want government to haul contractors back to fix their one village, one dam. They say the dams are too important to be abandoned in their current state. They want the basin of the dams deepened, the embankment walls firmed up, and the area of the dam widened. Jojo Kopina has more in the Joy News Hotline documentary, Thirsty Dams.
We are not happy. We can't farm. Our land is just bare. We would have been farming during Christmas. You must repair the dam for us. We had no idea the dam would be constructed like this. We thought they would do a good job. We farm on this land we gave away for the dam, and we're excited because we hope it will help us. They came here to help us by constructing the dam so that we can farm all year round and make money. But the dam dries up so fast, you will not even recognize the site as a dam. I planted in the first year and the water dried up, so my plants died.
The farmers say they will not count it as a loss if the government brings back contractors to reconstruct the dam. Some pledged to support the government to clinch to power if the dams are properly constructed.
I pray the contractor comes back to the site to construct it the way we want. If our dams are well constructed, we will support you always. We are waiting for the rain before we plant. Without rain, we can't plant. Where is the water that we will use to farm during the dry season?
This part of the story is called Waiting for Rain. The One Village, One Dam policy was meant to put an end to rain-fed agriculture. Government hoped that, just as people in Burkina Faso farmed all year round and even exported tomatoes to Ghana, people in the northern region would be able to do the same. Unfortunately, the people of Gorogo farm only during the rainy season. It is the main reason why the assemblyman for Gorogo, Roland Basama, is refusing to call the project a dam, and his reason is...
Actually, we don't call this one a dam. This is a dugout.
Now, the closure of the Buipe shea nut factory in the Savannah region is said to be affecting shea business in the area. The $10 million factory, a joint venture between the Produce Buying Company Limited and Messrs. LDS Maquinas Equipamentos Industrias Limited of Brazil, was established to process shea nuts into shea butter, shea oil, among others, for export to Brazil. But the factory has been closed for the past 4 years, pushing a lot of people into the market. Martina Bugri now reports.
The factory, now outgrown with weeds, was once a vibrant site which boomed with activities. The place is now very quiet, with only the sound of chirping birds and the movement of animals. The only visible human you will see at the factory is the security guard, who is to ensure the machines are protected. The factory that once bought shea from the people in the area now sits in the bushes idling. The assemblyman for Old Buipe electoral area, Esuwini Williams, said share they picked the previous years are sitting uncollected, making the people poorer each day.
When PVC was in progress, there's nothing like coming to me for support. My people were getting what they wanted because their duty is to pick and they will come and buy. Money, food, everything was just in abundance. Now, you get to my village and see. People pick down China since last year. No one stepped there to pick them.
The 5 regions of the north, which are largely known as the poor regions of Ghana, the factory was to turn things around considering the global demand for shea butter. But that hope is dashed. Yakubu Fatima, who picked shea, said they are forced to sell at very low prices, or you may have to process it for home consumption. With this stress that you go through, the only benefit is when you use it to make shea butter for the family. But if you want to sell it, your profit is just marginal. What they do is they just come and buy at cheap prices. Madam Idisa Aramata buys shea from the villages and resells. She said in the past she would present it to the factory and take her money instantly, but currently she has to travel several kilometers to Tamale and even sell it at cheaper prices. In the past, when I go around the villages and back, I go to the factory and they pay me instantly. But now I have to travel to the Tamale market and sell, and the buyers will buy at a very cheap price. At the Abuabu market, share nut sellers want government to pay more attention to the produce because of its important value around the globe.
The price have gone down completely, and yet there is such struggle in getting the nuts. Now the value of the share is even more than the cocoa. With share nuts, you can get oil, use it for soap, pomade, making of chocolate, among others. Therefore, these uses are many, yet the price has gone down completely. Therefore, we are calling on government to intervene.
The closure of the factory is not only affecting people working in the share value chain, but also the youth of Bupe who were largely employed at the factory. Abdullah Baki, assemblyman for the Bupe electoral area, wants government to intervene
and do to revive the company so that their youth in that particular in Savannah region will get something doing, because government made a pledge of giving every district a factory, and fortunately we were already having an existing factory in Yapekusogo constituency. So if the government were even to give another factory, it was going to be a plus.
For the millions of people in the share value chain, what they are asking is that government pay attention and revamp the factory to create jobs and income for the teeming unemployed youth in the area. For Joy News, Martina Bugri reporting.
Let's turn our gaze now to auto mechanics in Ghana who have poorly been handling used engine oil, popularly known as dirty oil, which contains heavy metals. Now, the improper disposal of used engine oil can lead to heavy metals finding their way into soil, surface water, and groundwater. Scientists fear exposure to dirty oil poses long-term risk to health. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah has more in this report.
At a section of the Swami Magazine enclave in the Ashanti region of Ghana, known as Abawa Ruth, auto mechanic Clement Zuma drains used engine oil. With the oil at the brim, Clement can't move it without getting his fingers soiled. The oil is responsible for his stained palms. Clement, who came here a decade ago, has been eating with these hands, sometimes washed, sometimes left to chaperone his meals. Though Christopher would like to don long sleeves to work to limit skin contact with both dirt and oil, he hasn't been spared the discomfort of dirty oil on his skin. Engine oil is a type of lubricant used in automobiles to reduce friction, heat and wear among mechanical parts that are in contact. These oils are chiefly petroleum-based or synthetic oils with some additives for improved performance. As a result of its continuous use, the oils become contaminated and therefore must be replaced with fresh engine oil, as the used engine oil is no longer functional. Waste oil has been found to contain lead, zinc, arsenic, chromium, cadmium and sulfur. These metals have been found to be harmful to the body. The major organs can be in serious danger when exposed to these metals. Professor Fred Boadu is with the Duke University.
First, it can cause cancer. 2, it can cause hypertension. 3, it can cause miscarriages in pregnant women. 4, it causes erectile dysfunction in men, and it's very, very, very potent in that aspect. That is well scientifically proven that can cause erectile dysfunction. And 2, also it causes diminished learning abilities in children.
Improper disposal of waste can lead to heavy metals finding their way into soil, surface water, and groundwater. Unfortunately, pouring used oil on the ground is commonplace, a practice thought to strengthen the soil. As part of efforts to identify and address some public health concerns in Africa, the Civil Engineering Department of Duke University in the United States of America have partnered the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology Ghana to understand these practices in order to help the auto mechanics at Swami Magazine to deal with them. Professor Fred Boadu, who is leading the team, has previously researched the presence of these heavy metals in the blood of the auto mechanics, where heavy levels of these metals were detected.
Duke University has a very good program, what we call the BAS Connection, where they allow people to do research in various areas. So I did have a grant from BAS Connection, and I came down to look at the heavy metal level contents in the auto mechanics. So we took their fingernails, toenails and hair, and we analyzed for these metals.
In our next story, calls for a thorough investigation into the saga involving former Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources have intensified even after her resignation from the position. Cecilia Abena-Dapaah's resignation follows the scandal over foreign and local currencies her house helps allegedly stole from her residence. Now, despite her 5-year tenure, opinions suggest that her efforts fell short of ridding Accra of filth and achieving the president's vision of making it the cleanest city in Africa. Michael Ashali has the rest of the story.
We are currently in Abilingpe, one of the several suburbs in the Greater Accra region. Specifically, we are on the Manihia Street, and the building behind us is the house believed to belong to the embattled former Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abena-Dapaah. It is also the same building, the same house, that is believed to be where the house helps of the former minister stole millions of cedis in foreign currencies from her. The residence of the embattled sanitation minister is a charming ground-level building adorned with cactus plants, golden trumpet flowers, and other beautiful flower blooms of red and yellow. The plants looked well-nourished, with the petals looking so soft. The well-manicured green garden gives the house an inviting appearance. However, despite its pleasant aesthetics, the house is heavily secured by barbed wires and a network of CCTV cameras strategically placed to monitor its surroundings closely. Since the news broke, there have been many reactions. For those who share the same neighborhood with the former minister, their immediate concern is how she acquired such an amount of money.
That minister, where you get that amount, 1 million, and I heard then $3,000 again. Charlie, big amount too. Where that minister get that amount? The first question.
And yes, someone chino say when you $1 million, I got to a them.
In fact, she should be arrested. How did she get $1 million? That money can build several schools for school-going children.
Scan up to them $1 million. Only a day, $1 million. I don't want to bank. I want to them.
For some of them, her decision to resign is not enough. They want her to be investigated.
I think they should investigate the issue properly, because as a minister, where will you get that money from? So they should properly investigate the issue and, get the truth out from it.
It is not enough she has resigned. She must be arrested and investigated. Not allow her to go scot-free. Show us where she got the money from. In fact, her properties should be frozen as well.
One of the biggest campaigns of the Akufo-Addo-led government was to wage war against filth and make the country in Accra one of the cleanest cities in Africa.
My pledge of improving sanitation in the country and making Accra the cleanest city in Africa by the end of my term.
In 2018, President Akufo-Addo appointed Cecilia Abena-Dapaah as Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources. In 2020, she extended the president's plan from 4 years to 8 years, insisting the president meant 2 terms.
Inshallah, the president will go for 2 terms, and at the end, Accra would have been, and we are on course. God is in control.
In 2021, she said she was very close to realizing the president's dream.
I will give it 85% because at the end of the day, you all saw the 100% we did during the lockdown. So who makes Accra dirty? Us. That's why we are every day sensitizing people to make sure. I'm telling you, I know you will quote it, and I insist it's 85.
A drive through Accra on a Sunday showed heaps of filth begging to be collected. While others believe the sanitation minister has done a good job but has not achieved the dream of making Accra the cleanest city in Africa, others insist she has not done well.
I see the environment. The environment is good, so our country is clean.
We are the cause of poor sanitation in this country. However, we are now enlightened, so sanitation has improved.
We are currently in Agbogbloshie, and this is the state of one of the main drains here, filled to the brim with filth and certainly choked. Even though in the rainy season, you can see that no water is going anywhere. And the people here have to deal with the stench. Oh my God, smells very bad. For almost 5 years, she occupied the position, yet the people in and around Agbogbloshie held a low opinion of her performance in stark contrast to her near-perfect self-appraisal.
Over 100%, I'll give her, that's 50 over 100.
Why do you say she didn't do well at all?
The reason is, you look at our environment, for instance, and when you even go forward to especially what's the name of Sickins, there's another gutter there, very, very dirty. So it means she has not been doing anything at all.
If you go through Accra City, there are many things that is not good for the country, Ghana.
So over 100, how would you rate Cecilia's work?
I can give him 35%. 35. Wow. Yeah. The way he do in this particular Accra City is not good at all. He want to put the, what do you call it, ministerial duty down and take it to another person.
Like me, I don't travel around. But for this place particularly, I will rate her work 30 over 100.
Why 30 over 100?
Because almost all the places I go within this area, it's like it's dirty. It looks very unkempt. They will eat and throw the rubbish around. Maybe at least they should keep dustbins around the places. If you eat, you can throw it there. If it's food, they'll go and dispose it. But it's nothing like that. So they eat, they throw banana peels, pure water rubbish everywhere. So this place, the place is not very good.
We are currently in the ministry's enclave that houses most of the ministries part of government. Specifically, we are right in front of that of the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, the office where the former embattled Minister Cecilia Abena-Dapaah worked from. It's expected that from Monday, July 24th, another individual will take over from the office. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
And it's on that sanitary note that we cap off the news. But stay with us. The news review is up next. Thank you for staying. Let's hit the ground running. Time now for us to get into the newspapers. And we have a few of them here with us this morning. I don't know, sometimes I feel the weather affects the number of papers we get. But the segment, before I introduce my guest, is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And here's what they are telling you. They're saying that if you're a man, come and get yourself checked for free when it comes to prostate-related issues. If you're a woman, do you know your fertility status? If you don't, make tracks to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Come and get yourself checked out gratis for free. You will not pay anything. And you ought to reach out to them at any of their branches. Here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, there's Kronum Abwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's also Takrady Anaji State, that's Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanzo and Esiama and Zama. Their call lines are these two. 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. The end to chronic disease. But just the start of the lots of matters that we have to discuss with you this morning. Joining me, Suleimana Brahima. He's Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. Mr. Brahima, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Thank you for having me as usual.
Thank you. Today, our time is slightly limited. I want us to make the most of the time all the way till around 7:10. So let's cut incisively first off into the Cecilia Dapaah situation. I just want your quick take on that before we get into other matters that have become topical as far as that conversation is concerned. So we've spoken about dollars being hoarded by certain people. We've spoken about where the economy has found itself. And now she's a politically exposed person, a PEP, with $1 million, 300,000 euros, and millions of CDs, as we've been told, somewhere in her rooms or somewhere in her vault. What do you make, Suleimana, of that situation? And should her resignation be enough? Some are saying the special prosecutor should get into it and all that. What's your thinking on the matter?
Well, thank you very much. Well, it's a matter that is quite astonishing. But at the same time, people who watch our political space will tell you, well, this is something that is to be expected in terms of the quantum of looting that is happening within our system. And there are a lot of people who will tell you that, look, this is not unique. Almost every person in similar positions, it wouldn't be surprising that they have similar amounts of monies at home, because these are monies that sometimes the way they acquire them makes it difficult for them to put them in the banks. And therefore, where else would they put it but in their bedrooms and so on? So this development has perhaps given us an evidence of what a lot of people have always said, that people are keeping, ministers and other appointees are keeping monies that they've looted at home and so on and so forth. Certainly, it is a matter that would demand investigations. And I do expect, I would be surprised and very shocked if in the course of this week, we don't hear anything from the special prosecutor in terms of steps that are being taken to investigate this matter. Because certainly, this is a matter that borders on, matters relating to corruption. And the special prosecutor's mandate specifically relate to things like this. So obviously, resignation, who cares about resignation? Indeed, in this country, you begin to wonder whether people are serving themselves or they are serving the nation. And therefore, who really cares about her resignation? What for me is important is the investigations that must be conducted into circumstances surrounding how this huge monies that we are talking about got stuck in her house. And for me, what is also quite even more shocking is the statement from the president in terms of his acceptance of the resignation, where the president says that he is accepting the resignation with regrets, and concludes by saying that eventually her
integrity
be fully established. And then when we say that the president is a clearing agent, he says he's not a clearing agent. Even before investigations are conducted, the president has already concluded that the minister is not guilty of anything.
But mind you, the minister would have had to reach out to Mr. President to, in discussing the tendering of a resignation. And maybe the story she told him is what he's bought into, for which reason he is convinced that she is innocent.
Well,
mind you, in our dispensation anyway, even if the matter goes to court or the special prosecutor gets into it, it is innocent until proven guilty.
Of course, but it is not for the president to say that.
Right.
For the president to say that, look, in the end, your integrity will be established and so on. These are the things that make us all conclude that the president has become a clearing agent. And he continuously demonstrates that as far as his appointees are concerned, look, they are almost like saints. Nobody commits a crime. So
that Sulemana is in stark contrast to what happened, for example, with the Vicky Hammer situation. She merely said she was anticipating getting $1 million, and you saw the consequences. They were swift. In this instance, she had to resign. She wasn't even sacked. She had to resign. And but in terms of the consequences, so let me just add this, and in a minute we can wrap on this situation. Some have said, Sulemana, that her husband is an architect of long standing. He's been there doing this work for decades, that maybe that could be the source of the money. Some have suggested it could be gifts, but if they are gifts, of course, they should have gone through the proper systems for taxation to take place. Some have also said that, look, if you deposit your dollars, for example, foreign currency in the bank, there are severe limitations on how much you can withdraw. I think up to maybe 50,000 or thereabouts. And maybe someone wants to do something and they may need large sums of money. And you think now, bank and give me this, I can't give you this today. You have to go and come back. These are some of the circumstances that have come up. Don't you think they are valid points to be made in terms of the source of this wealth? By the way, I heard that a certain minister who lives somewhere in Accra, East Legon to be specific, also had his dollars burnt at some point, but that one never came out anyway. And no dear, as for what is happening out there, and I have some, but let's leave it there. What would be your reaction then for those positing these situations?
Well, I think I've also heard a lot of those claims and propaganda and attempts to whitewash the situation, including the point that somebody says, it could be donations, it could be funeral donations. She's lost 2 relatives in the course of the last 1 year or so, and so those monies could have been eaten as a result of the funeral celebrations that were held.
Right.
I mean, matters like this, yes, you would expect those who would want to always showcase the fact that they think Ghanaians cannot think, but in the end, it turns out that perhaps it is they who really cannot think. Look, there are people who may have hundreds of millions of dollars, who may be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. We know about business people who we are told are fabulously rich. I don't think that those people keep those dollars in their homes. To keep $1 million, 300,000 CDs, 300,000 euros, and as we are told, millions of Ghana cedis at home. It's something that is really cannot be explained by the gimmicks that are, going on. I think, as I said, I will be extremely shocked if I don't hear anything from the special prosecutor, announcing that investigations have commenced into circumstances under which the monies were, acquired, whether from salaries or from the job of an architect, husband, or whatever it is. We need to know. And what is important is that investigations must be conducted into this.
Some have questioned the temerity to even take the matter to court, especially when this is the situation. But let's get into the papers. And in the next 14 minutes thereabouts, wrap. Newborns to receive Ghana card, NIA births and deaths, GHS, that is the Ghana Health Service, integrate database. I'm talking about the Daily Graphic newspaper. Galamsey on Black Volta. Minister warns of crackdown on culprits. Why don't he just crack down and stop all the warnings? We all know of the effect of Galamsey. We are now warning. National Service Allowance goes up. That's a positive. And on the back of where we find ourselves, economically speaking, NLA procures 4 modern machines, and Graphic doesn't enjoy government subvention. Director of Finance tells PAC. So all is set for the issuance of national identification numbers, better known as Ghana card numbers, to newborn babies, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has stated. This follows the successful integration of the databases of the Births and Deaths Registry, the National Identification Authority, and the Ghana Health Service. The Vice President said the first baby was issued with a national identification card last Friday as part of a system test run. You remember there was a promise made in terms of this, and now we're seeing some fruition. Dr. Bawumia said the government's ongoing digitalization agenda was ample testimony to its appreciation of artificial intelligence and a commitment to ensure the country was not left behind in the 4th industrial revolution. But when we talk about industrial revolutions, though, where exactly do we find ourselves? 1st, 2nd, 3rd? Are we in the 4th? Some would even say 5th. But then let's turn quickly to page 13, 16, and then I'll come to you. So the Graphic Communications Group Limited, the biggest state-owned media outlet, operates without any government subvention. The company's Director of Finance and Administration, Samuel Essel, has told the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. He said, although the government had 100% ownership of the 73-year-old company established in 1950, the company generated its own revenue to finance its operations. Quoting him, he says, Honorable Chairman, no, we don't enjoy any government subvention as we run everything from our own funds that we generate from operations. Now, that is a bit of an interesting, a curious development, because some have always felt that they were getting some subventions as a state entity, but it appears that is not the case. So 2 issues. Let me add this, Suleiman, and then you can wrap with them together. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu Jinapor, has assured Ghanaians that the government will go to any length to flush out illegal miners from the Black Volta and other rivers across the country to protect them from pollution. Consequently, he has urged the 6th Infantry Battalion of the Ghana Armed Forces and the Savannah Regional Security Council to deal ruthlessly with all persons engaged in illegal mining in the Black Volta. Now, there have been reports of escalating Galamsey activities along the Black Volta River, particularly in areas such as Jama, Jugboy, Carpenter, and Bamboy in the Savannah region. Here we are again, Lands Minister. As usual, we will deal with the situation, threats and all of that. Yet, the things still they go on for there. And again, we're using the military. It's not worked in the past. I don't know why we keep going there. Suleimana, 3 issues for your consideration.
Well, first of all, the Ghana card for newborns, Ghana card numbers for newborns, I think it's a positive development, but it is not a matter that should be hyped as if it is a major accomplishment, as is being hyped. I can understand if that is political capital for someone, but as far as I'm concerned, as a nation, these are matters that should be taken as things that are normal. I mean, to say that we are issuing Ghana card numbers to newborns and that is what a major achievement, I don't think so. We tend to celebrate, as they say, mediocrity. It's a positive development, as I said, but this is not to be celebrated as a major accomplishment by an entity or by a government or by an individual. And that is what I would say to that. Because why? We started this birth and death registry maybe decades and decades ago. If we are turning that into basically giving Ghana card numbers, and of course, people, if you were born and you were, registered, you were registered with a number. And so I don't think that it is anything that one should want to hype as a major accomplishment, as perhaps others would want to do. The other thing about the illegal mining and the attempts to control it, especially on the Black Volta. Again, as you said, we are hearing about the announcement, the promises, deployment of the military, which hasn't worked in the past, and one wonders how it's going to work this time around. The most important thing for me, Ben, is for us to acknowledge that fighting Galamsey is not an easy thing. And it is not easy because we are in a country where the youth don't have jobs to do. Look, if you in almost every single family in Ghana, you may have an extended family person who is involved in Galamsey. and not maybe as an actor, as the operator, but basically as a way of engaging himself or herself in order to survive. So if we have a government that, is really serious about dealing with the Galamsey, it's about the conscious effort of creating jobs for the youth so that there are opportunities for them to engage themselves in that. I don't think that it is because they just want to go into this dangerous business, sometimes, collapse of mine pits and resulting in deaths and the use of very toxic chemicals and all of that. A lot of people are doing this because there are no alternatives for them. And so it is not about just simply saying that I'm going to drive them away. You are driving them away to where? To the streets. To do what? And then you have, appointees keeping millions of dollars in their homes and so on. So that is what I would advise the government. And that is what I would say to my brother, the minister, that it is not as a matter of simply saying we are driving them away with the military. They fear the military. The military will shoot. The military will scare them. Scare them for them to go where? What must they do to survive? That is the fundamental question. If over the last 3 years we had said, look, we are serious about creating jobs, building factories, and so on, so that thousands of youth can get jobs to do, we would see a lot of people moving away from the Galamsey sites. But until we do that, people may be getting to the point where they say, look, the military can kill us, they can shoot us. Because after all, if we live here, we are going home to starve and die. So as Nana Addo would say, all die be die. I'm not by this justifying Galamsey, but I'm saying that we need to take appropriate steps to deal with the matter rather than, always using this, military scare tactics and so on and so forth. It is not going to work today. It's not going to work tomorrow until the job opportunities are created. Graphic not on subvention, I think it's understandable. And I didn't expect that, or I didn't have any inclination that graphic was under government subvention. But the difference is also there. There are a lot of things that, as we know, they say, advertise must be published in a widely circulated newspaper, and the default newspaper is Daily Graphic. There are a lot of government advertising that must necessarily go to Daily Graphic, and Daily Graphic is paid. I'm sure there are a number of media houses that, if they were to get similar opportunities, may even be able to be paying something to government rather than perhaps thinking about being on government subvention.
Right. Let's get into the Finder newspaper and the Daily Guide very quickly. The Finder says, and I will just gloss over the stories we've already looked at. Judge removes First Atlantic Bank from side chick lawsuit. I'm sure you followed. So First Atlantic Bank has been, asked to step aside, so to speak, legally speaking. And it's going to be a straight issue between the side chick and her sugar daddy. Akufo-Addo meets Pope Francis to strengthen ties with Vatican. There's also NLA plans, sustained crackdown on 350 million Ghana cedi illegal lottery business. Ghana needs new business model to diversify agriculture. That's according to Dr. Efri Akoto. And then Ghana-Houston affirm alliance to boost tourism inflows and business linkages. Let's look at those stories very, very quickly. So what is Dr. Efri Akoto saying? He is saying that the new model should be driven by government structure, supply chain logistics and market access, support big data and technology for evidence-based decision-making, research and development, develop and strengthen both input and output market systems and human development. My only concern, Dr. Akoto, while you were in power, are you saying you couldn't have done this? Then let's go to page 9. And there it is. Akufo-Addo meets Pope Francis to strengthen ties with Vatican. And the president has paid a courtesy call on Pope Francis in Rome. The visit aimed at strengthening diplomatic relations between Ghana and the Vatican. The call on the Holy See formed part of the president's 4-day official visit to Italy as the West African nation renews the bonds of friendship between the two countries. And those are the two stories there. Let me add this one. So the Daily Guide newspaper, I can defeat Mahama. That's according to Vice President Bawumia. The Cecilia Dapa story is there. And this one, important, we have to celebrate it. I remember those days, national service and how much we were earning. Government increases national service alawa to 715 cedis and 57 pesewas. That is from 559 cedis and 4 pesewas to 715 cedis and 57 pesos was a little shy of 200, about 160 Ghana cedis. But I'm sure it will do a lot, especially considering the economic times we are facing. Sherry Ayute passes on as well. So the topical stories for you to reflect on, Dr. Akoto and what he's saying about agriculture. There's also the Pope meeting Akufo-Addo, our president, and the Alawa issue. NSS, quick thoughts?
Well, I think the most critical point there is the Afriyie Akoto claims or statements that he's made. Look, this is somebody who was in charge of our agri sector for the last 6.5 years. And it is one of the sectors that I would say was well resourced. And yet, as we speak today, our stocks are empty. And yet this man would want us to believe that he did a good job as our agri minister, and now pontificating around with policies that can help improve our agricultural sector. He was there for 6 years. Why didn't he implement some of these things that he's talking about with all the resources that were allocated to the agri ministry? We had about planting for food and jobs with all manner of noise. At some point, he claimed that a bunch of plantain was 5 cedis and so on and so forth. Today, as I said, the stocks are empty. And I don't think that it is because the new minister hasn't done A or B. It is because he's a pretendant over, a sector that was not performing. And yet he wanted us to believe that it's a sector that really did well under him. I think it is better that we take all these things with a pinch of salt rather than believe that this is somebody with some great ideas for our agri sector, because he's been tried, tested, and he failed. And that is what I would say. Visit to Vatican. Well, it's always okay to maintain and strengthen diplomatic relations with, other countries. As we know, the Vatican is an entity by itself in terms of foreign relations. It's not part of the Italian government machinery per se. So it's not bad. But I say, what does it really bring? National service. I think that we are at a point where indeed what is happening is national service. Previously, people were doing national service, but the allowances that were paid somehow was enough to cushion them. And I'm talking about those days, not the 500 and 600 and so on. And now that it is 700, we are being told, it's been increased. The reality is that if you have a national service person, sometimes we take national service people at our workplace. If you have a national service person, let's say, who stays at Abelemkwe or stays at Jowolo, let me just use even a relatively shorter distance, and has to commute to the office in East Legon, how much is the person's cost in terms of transport?
Right.
In the cost of the month. Then the person would take breakfast. How much will be breakfast? The person will have to take lunch. How much is lunch? The person will have to go back home. How much is that? And then the person will have to take dinner. How much would that be?
So like you're saying, it is clear it is service to the nation, service at your own cost to the nation, because even now that it has been increased, I mean, it's just a drop in the bucket in terms of the reality. That sum could easily be absorbed into transportation alone. Easily.
Exactly. So that's around 25 cedis a day. I mean, with the new increase, 700 and something, it translates to about 25 cedis a day. And we know that people are spending as much as 20 cedis on transport alone in a day. So how do we expect these people to really survive? And that is why I'm saying those who are able to do it are really doing national service. And perhaps the best place to do this national service this time around is maybe to have people posted to the rural communities where maybe they can walk to their work, and cost of living in terms of food is quite low, and all of that. And that's really where we also need persons who are qualified to do the national service. And maybe this could give us some reflections in terms of reforms that may be needed.
Okay.
Where exactly do we deploy these people?
Suleiman, I will not have time to reflect on this story, but I'll just read the headline, and thank you for joining the conversation. The Ghanaian publisher says, rich hospital sheltering convict I just had to bring you some details on that. The Greater Accra Regional Hospital and Ghana Prison Service are under pressure to investigate an unusual circumstance in which a convict has been receiving treatment at the Ridge Hospital for almost 2 months, despite being sentenced to 15 years at the Nsawam maximum prison. Managing Director of Renaissance Oil Limited, an unlicensed oil marketing company, David Aseye Atey, was found guilty on 23 counts of defrauding Missile Energy Company Limited of more than $6 million through deceptive means in 2018. He was handed a 15-year sentence by an Accra High Court, but strangely, it is said that he's been sheltering at the Ridge Hospital for the past 2 months. What exactly is going on? I guess with time we'll find out. Suleiman Abrahima, thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, I think you are muted for the last bit. But as we go, a quick reminder that this segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening, free fertility screening for women. If you're interested, and you should be, just reach out to them at any of their branches. Here in Accra at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronumabwe here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanso and Siamanzima. Their call lines 0244-867-068, 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But there's a lot to talk about in sports, especially with the photoshopping and the fake videos that some people have been putting out about Messi's first game. Yes, he scored the free kick, but a whole lot of pictures about the GOAT supposedly taking photos of him and all of that. Well, details in sports up next.
Good morning. Let's do sports now on the AM show with me, Muftao Nabila Abda, and we start from the camp of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Exactly a year ago, the Porcupine Warriors were in the news following the decision of then head coach Dr. Prosper Nate Ogum to resign from his position as the head of the technical team. 1 year on, he's back leading the technical department of the team following the decision of Manshia to dissolve the management committee as well as the board of the club. And on Saturday, the life patron of the club, Otumfuo Osei II announced an interim management committee to steer the affairs of the club until such a time a permanent management committee or substantive management committee is appointed, and they will be headed by Nana Ampinkra Akwesi Ewa and Dr. Prosper Nate Ogum as the head coach. James Kwesi Appiah, he's been tasked to do lots of stuff. We understand that during the meeting with Otumfuo Osei II, Kwesi Appiah was asked to oversee the technical department of the team. Kwesi Appiah himself had held a plethora of meetings with Otumfuo before this meeting was held last week, Friday, before the interim committee was appointed. Emmanuel Newton Dasubre, he has been the administrative manager of the club since Nanayo Amponsa came into office in August 2020, and he's been maintained as part of the interim management committee as they are tasked to put together structures that will ensure that the club participates in the immediate competition that are coming up, i.e. the top 4 competition that's going to be organized by the Ghana League Clubs Association. Though we understand Kotoko might withdraw from the competition, they've been tasked to prepare a team that will be in shape to be able to compete and also prepare the team to compete in the Ghana Premier League, expected to start in September this year. Now let's move on and hear from former Black Stars captain Stephen Appiah. He's been speaking about the recent pressure that has been mounted on the head coach of the Black Stars, Chris Hilton. Team manager of the senior national team, Aminu Shado, had claimed that the Black Stars would have been better off with former coach Otto Addo, and then two executive council members of the Ghana Football Association, notably Randy Abbey and former management committee chairman of the senior national team, George Amoako, all claiming that the Black Stars have been unimpressive since Chris Hughton took over the leadership of the technical team. But Stephen Appiah has called for patience within the rank and file of the leadership of football in the country, as well as supporters. According to him, the backroom staff of the senior national team is deficient, and he wants people to throw their weight behind head coach Chris Hughton to be able to deliver success that is required by Ghanaians.
The football that we are all seeing is not about what we see on the pitch. The force is about the people who are on the bench, the technical staff. That's why today you will see that Chelsea, Man City, they are even more than the team itself. Oh yeah,
the backroom staff.
Yeah, we have people who
Italy went to the Euros. We did the Euros together.
Yeah.
With 37 backroom staff.
So you have a particular person who is focusing on Haaland. You have a particular person who is focusing on Messi. You have a particular person who is trying to look at the goalkeeper. But I don't think that we have the...
So our technical team is deficient?
No, I'm not saying that because I'm coming there. So I'm trying to say that at the end of the day, all this thing is money. Do we have the money to do that? No.
So we are deficient in our technical team. But there are other people who also talk about the chop and change. Yeah. There hasn't been that consistency. Is that also a challenge?
No, it can be because, you see, I think we are living in a country where we don't have patience. We saw when you read Ferguson books,
yeah,
when he started, I mean, it wasn't good. But they allow him to do his job. And we have to know one thing, that any code that you bring, no, it comes with a different style of play. So the players will never get used to a particular play. That's why maybe it looks like we are not getting like what we want to see. Our time, it was one code that we
had.
Yeah, we had. And look at the way we played. I can close my eyes and I know where Asamoah Gyan is or Matthew Amwa is, and I'll give him the ball. But today it looks as if we are not. I don't want to use the word confused, is too harsh. We are not getting it. So changing coaches to it distracts the system of the play of the team.
Former captain of the Black Stars, Stephen Appiah, speaking there. Now, let's hear from one player who is seeking to break into the senior national team, the Black Stars. He's had call-ups many times, but he's yet to make his debut with the Black Stars. He's Montari Kamahene, currently playing his football in Israel with Ashdod FC. He's a left back. He's a product of Dreams FC. He's been speaking about those who criticize President of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okraku, saying that many of the people who criticize him probably do not have an idea about the vision he's got for football. But I have asked the president of the FA to ensure that he focuses on delivering his mandate that he's promised the football community.
You know, I always say that, you know, in this world, whether you do bad, they will talk, whether you do good, they will criticize. Everything you do, you know, yeah. And football is all about that. Even for us playing the football, this is how it is. People who criticize you, you know, you understand. But it depends on you how you're going to take it. You understand me? But you don't need to pay more attention to people like in your life who criticize you, and, you know, you understand. Just try to pick something good out of that. So I think, you know, for him, you know, the brain that, you know, he has is, you know, it's more like, it's more than that, or it's more what people are talking. You understand me? It's more what people are talking.
So would you say that those of us, or those who criticize Kurt, they don't know the kind of person he is, and the knowledge and the vision he's got for Ghana?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I can't tell maybe those who criticize them that they don't know. You understand? Because this is what they say, like, you know, this is what they see, and they want to talk about that. You understand me? So if someone criticizes you about something, you know, like, you don't need to tell the person you don't know. Maybe this is what they see. You understand me?
So you have to work to prove them wrong.
And this is what I'm saying. The brain that he has is more, or he's seeing like far beyond maybe what people are talking, you understand? But I feel sometimes, you know, like, patience is everything, you know, when people talk, blah, 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 and stuff like this. So, and you see, it's like everything is gradual, you know. He's making more waves, he's promoting, you know, everything, you know. And let me say, not even one day God used to create the earth.
Yeah.
Not one day. You understand me? So even if God never used one day to create something,
what about human being?
What about human being? So it's all about patience, you understand?
So Ghanaians should be patient.
It's like a process.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but even like if I say patience, like it seems like maybe when you are not doing something good and someone tell you, oh, you need to be patient with this person. No, but he's doing the job because he's a hardworking man. He's doing the job. So if he's doing the job, you know, what do you want again? You know, you understand me. And trust me, if you have someone who got the vision, who got like the plans and everything, you know, it's all about time and process. You understand? And you see that everything will. And you can see he has done a lot. Sharing booths like football shoes to the clubs, the pitches and everything.
Yeah, you know, sharing football
you understand,
to clubs
something
themselves.
That never happened before.
Yeah.
So this one need to tell you now, people who are criticizing, this one alone need to tell you that, oh, you know, there is...
When the resources are there,
you understand, there
is
something big coming.
Let's go on the phone right now and speak to the head coach of the Black Galaxies, Master Didi Dramani. He's screening players as he gets himself ready to build a formidable team that can compete at the continental level. Over the years, the Black Galaxies have struggled. Even this year, when they participated in the Shan competition, they exited at the round of 16 of the competition. And this led to many people questioning the skill of leadership of the Ghana Football Association, as well as the technical team, which was led to the competition by who's been this man. He's been reappointed as the head coach of Great Olympics, Arnold Walker. Now let's go and speak to Didi Dramani, who is replacing Arnold Walker. Didi, thanks very much for your time this morning. Tell us pretty quick, there isn't any major assignment coming up, but you've assembled many players at Pram. What is actually happening?
In actual sense, this is. Thank you very much for having me this morning. Even though it's eating into my operational time, but your institution is equally as important as what we also do here.
Yeah. In
terms of making people understand what we're trying to put in place. So first of all, it is for the acknowledgement of what we have domestically.
Okay.
And you know, if you had me, Chris, and then George all over the place, we were traveling across to watch games, and then and in appreciation of what we saw, is to bring players close to close view, so that you understand the player better, and also is to institute a domestic-based B national team that can always come in when it becomes necessary in terms of proximity and in terms of needs of players to support in the A national team. And in so doing, you need to bring them in on close view so that you'll be able to understand how you saw him from distance and then what you think the player has. We actually need to support players based on their natural tendencies, and then we can try as much as possible to also manage them as well. And so I put in place about 96, players in different phases, 24 in each, 21 players, 3 goalkeepers, working for 3 days. They report. This group reported on Sunday at dinner, and then we had our cultural integration test, and then after that, we have our training sessions this morning, and then in the evening we give them a style of play view, and then the next day they have the opportunity for another style of play, both offense and defense, and then on the third day they will play an internal control game where they play against themselves at an internal game, and then they are off to go. This gives them, a certain orientation in terms of what we do at the A level. A-level, there's no much time for longer training session, longer camping. You know, it is for you to watch some videos and then have some walkthroughs, have some low-intensive sessions, and then you need to be able to integrate and adapt. So it's a work in progress. Some will be seen now, some will be seen when the league is on, and then that is how we'll try as much as possible to find the program going on. So this is just the phase one.
How long do you intend to do this, Didi?
We are going to, we started on the 17th of July, and then the program is supposed to end on the 12th of August.
Okay, considering
the second phase, yeah.
Okay, considering the fact that many of these players, they often move out. If there are opportunities for them to move, they are definitely going to take it. Isn't it challenging that you started screening as many as about 96 players if the numbers available are anything to go by, and you are expected to trim that number down to a size that you can work with?
Okay, so what it means is that you said it all. You answered your own question. You said they normally will travel out. It is the wish of every coach to see to it that players are traveling out clearly. You know, when the players travel out like that, that is a good mark. And once they travel out in those phases, then it gives us the opportunity to know that this player needs to be tracked. We have to continue to monitor the player. Why do you stop a domestic player from traveling outside the country? Every player everywhere in the world wants to have the opportunity to try something. You saw City winning the Champions League at the highest level, but still players still want to move to different environments. So that is what all that this program is about. We will see a lot more players, and that's why I said it's a work in progress. If the 96 players all move out of the country, I'll bring another 96 and even more, because I have over 500, domestic players on the database. So it's a work in progress, and I believe that you are part of it. Everyone is part of it. Please let's embrace this institution, and then to be able to support our local leagues. So I'm not even talking about the Premiership. I'm talking about the local leagues. That is the Premiership, the First Division, the junior national teams, the universities. You know, I try to go around to see so many. So most of the boys that I brought, some are coming from Division 1 Premier team, some are coming from very low Division 2. Those who excel very well in the Division 2s, I brought them in to watch them on a close view. Okay,
so do you have any immediate assignments coming up to prepare the team?
Oh, but I think you said it all. You said there's no any immediate assignment.
Yeah, but it's just to get some clarity to appreciate what you are doing right now.
Yeah, the immediate assignment is what I've told you. Is to have close view, and then you'll be able to understand that if something comes up in need and for proximity purposes, if something comes up, and then you need someone that will fill into the 18. You cannot just pop into your head to say that, oh, I know about this player. At least you need to have some substance by saying that I saw this player on a very close view. And I think that on the view of having someone to fill in that situation, this player will be able to do without even thinking, because you have seen him in training, you have seen what he brings, you have seen his strength, and you have seen his level of integration and adaptation. The A national team is all about integrating and then adapting, because the time is very, very short for preparation.
Coach, my final question just before I let you go.
Yes, because you are eating into my time now.
What will make this program a success?
For me, success is all about the mindset. Success is all about the ability to be deliberate, and we are deliberate about this. The ability to remain very consistent, and we are consistent on these matters. The ability to be patient around it. Patient in the sense that integration takes a process to be able to find things. And so this is what we want to do. And then the other aspect is clubs. Clubs knowing that we need to as much as possible to support, because these players that we are handling here are their players. The nation has no player. Every player belongs to a club. And so they need to communicate. Strong communication, that's the challenges. Because you invite a player and then the team knows that the player is not around, and nobody is communicating with you to tell you that, please, the player is traveled, so that you can plan around it. you need a certain magic to be able to adjust your programming, and I think that one is a very low base in terms of the way we support this affairs, and I want to believe that we need to move even more better in terms of how we communicate. Communication is so
okay
when it comes to team organization.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach Didi Dramani, the head coach of the Black Galaxies.
We are currently in Abilingpe, one of the several suburbs in the Greater Accra region. Specifically, we are on the Manihia Street, and the building behind us is the house believed to belong to the embattled former Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abena Dapaah. It is also the same building, the same house, that is believed to be where the house helps of the former minister stole millions of cedis in foreign currencies from her. The residence of the embattled sanitation minister is a charming ground-level building adorned with cactus plants, golden trumpet flowers, and other beautiful flower blooms of red and yellow. The plants looked well-nourished, with the petals looking so soft. The well-manicured green garden gives the house an inviting appearance. However, despite its pleasant aesthetics, the house is heavily secured by barbed wires and a network of CCTV cameras strategically placed to monitor its surroundings closely. Since the news broke, there have been many reactions. For those who share the same neighborhood with the former minister, their immediate concern is how she acquired such an amount of money.
That minister, where you get that amount to 1 million, and I heard then $3,000 again. Charlie, big amount too. Where that minister get that amount? The first question.
In $1 million, I got to a them.
In fact, she should be arrested. How did she get $1 million? That money can build several schools for school-going children.
Scan I to them $1 million. Only a day, $1 million. I don't want to go bank. I want to them.
For some of them, her decision to resign is not enough. They want her to be investigated.
I think they should investigate the issue properly, because as a minister, where would you get that money from? So they should properly investigate the issue and get the truth out from it.
It is not enough she has resigned. She must be arrested and investigated.
Not
allow her to go scot-free. Show us where she got the money from. In fact, her properties should be frozen as well.
One of the biggest campaigns of the Akufo-Addo-led government was to wage war against filth and make the country in Accra one of the cleanest cities in Africa.
My pledge of improving sanitation in the country and making Accra the cleanest city in Africa by the end of my term.
In 2018, President Akufo-Addo appointed Cecilia Abena Dapaah as Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources. In 2020, she extended the president's plan from 4 years to 8 years, insisting the president meant 2 terms.
Inshallah, the president will go for 2 terms, and at the end, Accra would have been, and we are on course. God is in control.
In 2021, she said she was very close to realizing the president's dream.
I will give it 85%, because at the end of the day, you all saw the 100% we did during the lockdown. So who makes Accra dirty? Us. That's why we are every day sensitizing people to make sure. I'm telling you, I know you will quote it, and I insist it's 85.
A drive through Accra on a Sunday showed heaps of filth begging to be collected. Sanitation Minister has done a good job, but has not achieved the dream of making Accra the cleanest city in Africa, others insist she has not done well.
I see the environment. The environment is good, so our country is clean.
We are the cause of poor sanitation in this country. However, we are now enlightened, so sanitation has improved.
We are currently in Agbogbuloshe, and this is the state of one of the main drains here, filled to the brim with filth and certainly choked. Even though in the rainy season, you can see that no water is going anywhere. And the people here have to deal with the stench. Oh my God, smells very bad. For almost 5 years, she occupied the position, yet the people in and around Agbogbuloshe held a low opinion of her performance in stark contrast to her near-perfect self-appraisal.
Over 100%, I'll give her, that's 50 over 100.
Why do you say she didn't do well at all?
The reason is, you look at our environment, for instance, and when you even go forward to, especially, what's the name of Sickins? There's another gutter there, very, very dirty. So it means she has not been doing anything at all.
If you go through Accra City, there are many things that is not good for the country, Ghana.
So over 100, how would you rate Cecilia's work?
I can give him 35%. 35. Wow. Yeah. The way he do in this particular Accra City is not good at all. He want to put the, what you call it, ministerial duty down and take it to another person.
Like me, I don't travel around. But for this place particularly, I will rate her work 30 over 100.
Why 30 over 100?
Because almost all the places I go within this area, it's dirty. It looks very unkempt. They will eat and throw the rubbish around. Maybe at least they should keep dustbins around the places. If you eat, you can throw it there. If it's food, they'll go and dispose it. But it's nothing like that. So they eat, they throw banana peels, pure water rubbish everywhere. So this place, the place is not very good.
We are currently in the ministry's enclave that houses most of the ministries part of government. Specifically, we are right in front of that of the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, the office where the former embattled Minister Cecilia Abena-Dapaah worked from. It's expected that from Monday, July 24th, another individual will take over from the office. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Well, that's the conversation we're going to be focusing on for the next 40 to 45 minutes. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. This is the AM show, and we're sliding into the big stories. Now, joining us on this conversation, we have a lawyer to help us navigate the legal terrain and what exactly this means. I mean, our dispensation in Ghana says innocent until proven guilty. But with the dynamics surrounding Cecilia Abena-Dapaah, the former Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, as a politically exposed person, what do the dynamics reveal? Kweku Pencil will be sharing those with us. He's a lawyer. We also have Dr. Sumaila Assah. He's a development expert at the C.K. Tedam University of Technology and Applied Sciences. We also have, yes, from the political end, we need someone to give us what this means for governance, for politics, and its exigencies. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist at the University of Ghana. He's also director of the Center for European Studies. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben.
I hear Dr. Asah-Asante. Can I hear from Dr. Assah and Kweku Pencil? Mr. Pencil, you would have to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Hello?
Mr. Pencil, I can hear you now.
You're welcome.
All right. So I'll start with you, Dr. Asah-Asante. This has taken the nation by storm. Practically everyone is talking about it. Social media is replete with talk about it. But what do you make of this development? $1 million, 300,000 euros, millions of CDs, Kente, suits, jewelry, among others, valued at huge sums of money in a minister's house. Questions have been asked about whether this money was gifted to her, whether it was money she had worked for in some way, whether her husband, who is an architect of decades standing, had acquired this sum of money, why they would keep such sums of money at home, though technically there is no law that says you cannot keep such huge sums of money at home. But especially in respect to the foreign currency, the dollars and the euros, where our economy has been, and the talk about hoarding. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said that, yet members of this administration were in fact also hoarding money. What is your initial take on this matter, Dr. Asa Asante?
I think that there are a number of perspectives from this discussion.
Right.
One is that we have to situate it in a proper context by saying that we cannot condemn the woman until an investigation has gone into the matter and we find out the facts that exist as far as the issue is concerned. So for now, they are all issues of allegation. So an investigation, proper one of course, will have to elicit that before we can conclude by saying that maybe he was wrong or she was not. But looking at it from political perspective, what are we looking at? We are looking at government policy. Government policy over the years has been that, one, through the Bank of Ghana, you can even take certain amount of money at the
Dr. Asa Asante, I can see that your feed is patchy. We'll just try to see whether it is better, and then we can continue with the conversation. If not, I'll move to Mr. Painter. Doc, can you hear me? All right, it appears it's frozen, so we'll try to work that connection. But Mr. Painter, for you, what is your initial take on this matter? Mr. Kweku Painter, you would have to unmute. Hello? All right, it appears the networks are not aiding us this morning. The connections are bad. So, Dr. Kwame Asa Asante, I don't know whether you can hear me now. Hello, Doc? Okay, looks like this morning is going to be a tricky one as far as the internet connectivity is concerned. But in case you just joined us, we're contemplating the Cecilia Dapa issue.
I can hear you. Can you also hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead. We lost you right when you started on the governance aspect. Please go ahead.
Yes. I was saying that, investigations should be able to unravel all the mystery around us so as to enable us put a proper perspective on the matter. But having said this, from the governance perspective, we are saying that government has a policy, and the policy is that we should be able to put our resources at the bank, particularly foreign currencies. You and I are live to Bank of Ghana's policy.
Well, this is what we're going to do, Dr. Kwame Asa Asante. We're going to connect with you via phone so that we can make the most of the time we have and cover as much ground as possible. Lawyer Painter, can you hear me? All right, so we'll wait while the phone connections are made. But just to give you a fair idea of what conversation we're having, it has to do with yes, now we can say former. She tendered her resignation. Former Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abena Dapa. You see her right behind me. And it has to do with the huge sums of money together with other things that supposedly were stolen by some of her house helps and distributed to different people. One of them gave some to her father, her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, among others. She bought vehicles, purchased a property, rented a 3-bedroom facility, among others. The questions, though, that arise have to do with keeping such sums of money at home, when in fact our economy is what it is. So this is one minister, but what is happening in the closets of other people who are politically exposed, members of parliament, ministers, and could they also have accounted for where our economy currently is? Dr. Sumaila Asar joins the conversation. Doc, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you and good morning to all the listeners.
All right, so let's kickstart with you, though we've started the conversation. What is your take on this Cecilia Abnadapa situation?
My brother, it's raining in Bolga now. It's not because of the rain now I'm feeling cool, but this conversation has really set me cool for some days now. And that is the unfortunate situation that we are finding ourselves in this country now. Yes, we can look at it from different angles. Yes, the case is probably still in court. It may be judicial to talk about the legality. But the most important is about the seemingly reckless that is exhibited. If you look at it,
Dr. Asar, could you speak up just a little for me? You say even more important is the what? The exceeding what?
So there's some level of recklessness that has been exhibited. If you look at a case, yes, not from the legality, but an amount of money, and just ask yourself, if you are into a business or you have really toiled for your money, like a lecturer like me, working and getting my salary and possibly even want to buy dollars and keep, which is not something that I subscribe, looking at the current economic situations that we have a lot of shortage of dollars. Then somebody goes to pick these dollars. I think it has happened over time that to the tune of $1 million. It's quite so mind-boggling that that amount of money can be taken from you. And if you look at the charge and then against those young ladies, they couldn't just take 1 day or 1 month to even build houses. It means that this money probably has been kept there for a long time. And these girls have been going there and picking, probably daily, weekly, and it's so unfortunate to hear some of these stories. It's also unfortunate. And I'm so much worried because as a gender advocate and always talking about how women should get into power, this is quite a negative contribution to our efforts as gender advocates. And I'm so worried about it. To a large extent, why should we reduce this country to this level? That everybody is now trying and, looting and hoarding. This is a sign of hoarding. So if you're not hoarding, why will you want to keep dollars in cash in your bedroom? So that people will not know that you have the dollars. Probably if it was in an account, maybe somebody with an okra map in the bank may say that, oh, this lady has this amount of dollars in her account. I'm not going to look at it whether she stole it from the state or whatever. But even if she had done a business, a genuine business, to generate that amount of money, I don't think you go and put it there. If we want to even take it from another angle to say that, okay, she went to the bank and reduced the $1 million and the other currencies and kept in the house to go into a transaction. I don't think you plan a transaction and put money in your room for several months before you use it for that transaction. The risk factors are here, and it just shows that probably this money was gotten from no toil, so you don't respect the money, and this behavior is a sign of shaming the money. Probably you got it from a source that you didn't even respect. So therefore, let me just leave it there. To be frank with you, you can interpret this from several angles, and each of the angles you look at it doesn't really make sense.
Now, in terms of the optics, what this event is, there have been incidents. You remember Vicky Hammer and her
exactly
her plan, supposedly,
yes.
to secure $1 million. This was just a plan. She was axed, and I think rightly so. Rightly so. She was removed from office. In this instance, it took Cecilia Dapaah herself to come up with a resignation. And then we heard Mr. President say, well, he expressed his sadness about the situation, having to accept her resignation, and said that her integrity will shine through. We are not privy to whatever Mr. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo knows. But in terms of the source of funding, some people have said, look, her husband is an architect of long standing, decades in the business. Are we saying he cannot, acquire such sums of money? The question, though, would be whether if you acquired such sums of money, you would leave them idling at home to the point where you don't even realize that someone is stealing.
Exactly,
those sums of money. What do you make of that? It could have been gifted to her. The only problem would be then that did it go through the proper tax processes for taxes on the gift?
That's another angle that probably we're looking at it. If you want to even make a claim that I was given a gift of that amount of money, but the recklessness, I'm still looking at the seriousness attached to the money. That, for instance, I am a lecturer. Probably with my profession, I'm going to do a consultancy, and then they have given me $1 million. If you want to even refer to the husband, as an architect, you've worked so hard, and then they give you $1 million, and you just come and dump it in your room, and then you don't even put an eye on it, and somebody goes there, pick every day or every week to the tune of 1,300,000 euros. I mean, is it that you have become so rich that you don't even know? I mean, I think Bill Gates himself wasn't be able to account for his $1 million. I don't think Bill Gates or Dangote in Africa will have $1 million and he will not respect it. I think we will have to look at it. And I mean, coming from the president, I respect the president. I mean, we have to always respect our leaders. But I think at this point, I think the president needed to bite better than this, because yes, just accepting her resignation is not so deterrent enough. To me, I think the president had the opportunity to refuse or to not accept the resignation and fire her. He has that option. You can send your resignation and they refuse to accept it and fire you, so that you will feel the summary dismissal, so that you will get nothing from your employer. But to accept the resignation, that is quite honorable. That, I'm resigning. It's an honorable way of exiting from your office. And I think the president probably should have done something better in this particular case to have demonstrated that, yes, all along we have been complaining that, a lot of cases of corruption, you try to probably clear them. And I don't want to mention some of the instances, but I think this particular one was an opportunity for the president to say, please, madam, I respect you, you have worked with me, I have received your resignation, but I don't want to condone these things, and I'm not accepting it, and therefore you have been fired, and give the reasons why I'm firing you. And that would have been quite so deterrent. That would have been a sign to most of us who probably will be getting into politics, or those who are even in government and politics and probably are fast-owning and hoarding like he's doing.
Just a quick one to you before I go on to the other guests because of the phone constraints. But the very document I was citing where the president says what he does, do you find that prejudicial? I just remembered, in the Jachikwason instance, what Mr. President said in Asin North, that you don't want to vote for someone who'll be mired in court cases and all of that. People said that was prejudicial. Now, here again, we have the president saying, and we are not privy to what information he has, but he says your integrity will come to bear eventually. And some have said, wait, we've not even started investigating the matter, and you are declaring her, a saint? What do you make of that? Is it prejudicial to any judicial process that may be started?
I didn't get that. I mean, are you talking about prejudicial in terms of my submission, or maybe?
In terms of the president saying what he did in the statement, that he thinks in the end her integrity will be made known to everybody. That is Cecilia Dapaah's integrity. That is part of the statement from the presidency. I'm asking, do you feel it prejudices any legal action that may be taken against her?
Yeah, I don't want to speak here as a lawyer because I'm not one, and therefore I think the president is one lawyer, and then was probably careful about the choice of his ways. And for that matter, I think, be it as it may, the president definitely, at this particular moment, will be a bit worried because these are people who he has worked with and probably will be shocking. So sometimes we give them the benefit of the doubt that at this particular moment, any of us probably could say things that might not be the best of our ability. And for that matter, I will not quite be so worried about the content of the president's statement. Yes, he's the president. He could have taken more time to say it better. But at this material moment, I want to probably empathize with the president that this is quite so gargantuan that anybody, if you are having a team and one behaves like this, you will probably have to take time and then say things. Yeah, so I don't want to probably go much into the legality of the prejudicial statement and all that. But what I want to just say is that the president needed to take this opportunity because my good friends in NPP have, on this particular matter we have been chatting, it is quite so denting to the campaign of the political party that will be running for power in 2024. And things like this, the president needed to probably do it better to help the candidates that will be winning to contest the elections. Because at least something to show that there is some level of decency in the presidency, and therefore the president doesn't want to condone some of these things. It's difficult that you will probably see one of your best in terms of ministers, because he has been a minister from the day one of Akufo-Addo up to date, and therefore means that the president has some confidence in her. You'll be wobbling when it comes things like this come to your doorstep, like your son has been unexpectedly commit a crime that you cannot just come out quickly to make statements. So to me, I think the president probably can come back better and then redress this issue in a way that people in Ghana will feel a bit relief that we are citizens contributing our taxes, and no matter where she has gotten the money, in one particular angle, the state has been struggling with the demand for dollars, and the supply for dollars has been quite limited, and because of that, the dollar has been going high. So if somebody, an individual, can decide to keep that in, because this money could have been in the bank, if it's genuinely gotten, well.
Right. Let me bring in our other guests. I have an important, a curious message coming through, though. It's got me thinking, actually. The message is from Odanka Kwekru, who says, hello, I believe the police CID must begin to search all the homes of the 275 members of parliament and the house of President Akufo-Addo and the house of former President Mahama and the homes of present ministers and previous ministers under Mahama, because I still believe there might be over $2 billion under the beds of all of these politicians. That's how he signs off. So present and past members of parliament, ministers, present and past presidents. I don't know. You know, something just struck me. We've gone to the IMF for $3 billion. This is a bit of a stretch, legally speaking. You can't just go and search. But I'm sure if we did, maybe, we wouldn't need that IMF money. But anyway, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, let me bring you into the conversation. Your take, I mean, we've discussed a lot up to this point. We lost you on the back of the connection. But what do you think, again, and do you feel the president's comments, and maybe I should just run them by you. He says, on that letter dated the 22nd of July, he says, in that letter, he says, I received your letter, I'll just paraphrase, resigning from office. It is with considerable regret that I accept your resignation, and I applaud your loyalty to the image and standing of the government. The work you undertook during your period in government was excellent and productive, and I thank you for your wholehearted contribution and devotion to the progress of the government and of the nation. Quote again, I am confident like you. I am confident like you. I am confident like you that at the end of the day, your integrity while in office will be fully established. It doesn't leave any room for doubt. Your take.
Yes. Ben, before I come there, my initial submission, I didn't conclude. Let me just throw one or two, then I come to this question. From policy perspective, even though I've said that it is only investigation that will, give us the real facts of the situation, so we'll leave that one aside. But the issue is that from governance perspective and also from policy perspective, you can see that there's a problem here. The problem is that government is urging everybody to put our resources, monies like this in bank and all that. Why are we having an officer of the government doing something to the contrary? That is where the difficulty lies. Because yes, the money can be genuine, can be whatever, but government is saying that whoever has dollars, we are encouraged to put it at the bank. Is it a good example? Is it the case that government is preaching virtues and practicing vice? That's where the difficulty lies. And it's a function of what? Governance indicators. Indicator that if you want to govern, you govern with what? Honesty, and then you make sure that what you preach is what you do. Otherwise, people don't take you seriously about the issues that you are talking about. Come to your question. I don't see anything wrong with what the president said. Are we saying that we're looking forward to hearing the president saying that, yes, I know they will find you guilty of all this, and at the end of the day, that will be the end of you? No. She's an appointee of the government, so the government rests in the hope that after everything, her record or her image will be intact. That is not to compromise whatever investigation that will come in. Once you give that exercise of investigation to well-meaning people who have integrity and all that, and they look at the facts before them, they'll come out with whatever prevail. So for me, it's an ordinary statement, but that is to be expected from a president who has appointed somebody as a minister. So that is not wrong at all.
So his confidence in her, based on what exactly is okay with you? Some feel that the way he expresses it does not give room for any counters. Is that okay with you? Does that sit well with you from the governance perspective?
Yeah. Are we saying that when investigation is triggered and that people are put there to look into the matter and the woman appears before them and talk, at the end of the day, they will, because of this president's statement, they will conclude that she's exonerated, if that is not the case. I mean, we can accept that explanation. That cannot be the case. But the right thing is that investigation will be triggered into this matter. Then we'll find out what has really happened. But for me, the president's statement doesn't undermine anything at all.
Let me bring in Kweku Paintsel. He is a lawyer. Mr. Paintsel, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Paintsel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Great, I can hear you now. I'd like to find out from you, we lost you through your submissions. What is your initial take? And then when you look at the letter of the document from the office of the president, stating that he is really sad, just to paraphrase, that this has happened. He believes in the integrity of Cecilia Abnadapa, even to the point of saying that time will show, as he believes and she believes, her integrity will shine through. What do you make of it? Is it prejudicial to whatever legal remedies may be triggered in this matter?
I think it's highly prejudicial.
You think it's highly prejudicial?
Highly, and it's not proper for the president to express that confidence. If you have confidence, fair enough. That's the main reason why you appointed her in the first place. But in the current storm, with due respect, I'm not too sure that it's proper for the president, before even an investigation begins, to express your confidence at this stage and hope and give a kind of assurance that she will come out of it clean. The prejudicial nature of that kind of thing is that you prepare the mind of the public in such a way that there's going to be only one conclusion wherever goes on. And you see, this is Ghana. This is Africa. We know how political actors act behind the scenes. I'm not saying the president is going to act behind the scenes. But if the investigation is going to go on, please allow the investigation to go on. It's not proper. I will repeat that statement 25 times, that the president ought not to have made that statement. Because when you make that statement, you are suggesting to the public that they should expect it to come as clean. That's the way I would look at it. And the president, in such circumstances, ought to stand in a position where whatever the outcome would come out to be, it will be what it is. So that's the first point. The second point I'd like to make is that, having regard to all the circumstances, where this matter started, please, with due respect to the former speakers, my problem is not about where the money was and where she shall put it. I'm not too sure. If there's some law that somebody will educate me after this session, let the person educate me. When I get my money, I will decide where I want to keep it. I personally, I've never been happy with the banks in Ghana here. You keep your money there, they don't add interest to it. Every day you withdraw $1, they take so much and so forth and so on. But that is for a private thing. What I think has become an issue is the fact that she is a political actor who finds herself in a political space and make this kind of conduct raise the perception that the money that she had in her home, she didn't have it for a proper source. It doesn't really matter what her husband does and so forth and so on. But this is Africa. This is Ghana. When you have too much money in a minister, in her house, it raises issues of concern. How much was taken? How much is left? Where is the source of the money against the laws that we have in this country? You know what? I'm even very surprised to read that apparently this matter started somewhere in October last year, which means that what we are even hearing now is political management. There has been opportunity for people behind the scenes to manage things. That's my speculation. I'm not stating them as fact. But if this is happening in October, it means that at least the executive must know. If this is happening in October, it means that the security forces or the people who are claiming to investigate these matters, they know. And we have laws in this country regulating these matters at about, so that at the time that she herself made a report, any reasonable intelligence officer ought to ask himself the first question: where did she get this money? She's a political actor. Where did she get this money? So that in my honest view, at the very time that they launched the investigations have been launched from two fronts. It's not now that we are going to ask somebody to start investigating. Well, it started in October. So the real issue is, if what we find wrong now, because the thing came into the political space now, does it matter? Is it not the same issue in October of last year? So what I find worrying is that what is going on now appears to be stage managed. That's the way I find it. Because she has not even resigned. The law is that if you are a political actor, you are a minister of state, you're supposed to file, asset declaration before you are appointed at regular intervals and 6 months before you resign. Has she now filed those forms to show the asset declaration that she made to the Attorney General? And before she resigned?
So just to come in, because that was a point I was going to make, Mr. Pinto. So she did file her declaration when it comes to her assets. She has complied with that twice, if memory serves. The question though would be whether some of these assets now that we're talking about, the sums of money and property, whether all of these were part of that declaration.
No, the law is that before you resign, pay the funds before you resign. At the point, that's the law. And we're not going to make any changes to the law. Fair enough that she filed. So the real issue is that if she fills the forms, is there a discrepancy between the assets that she has declared? Because see, the truth about this country is that we've got the institutions, we've got the legislation, the IOCO, and all of them. We've got all the laws. The problem with this country is what the political actors have chosen to take us all through. Who watches the political actors? Who ensures that they do the right thing? This may be the second time that I may be mentioning these things, but if you read Chinua Achebe is a man of the people. He said the problem with African politics is that we were all with them in the sun. But when they got into the shade, they said to us, stand where you are, for where we are is not good. I'm linking this issue even to what is now happening in our parliament and in the court, where a whole political party, members of it, have taken a decision that they will boycott parliamentary sittings in aid of a member of their party who is standing trial for corrupt-related offense. I'm not talking about Gyakye Quayson. I'm talking about two forces. I'm not saying two forces has committed a crime, hasn't committed, because that will happen at the end of the trial. The real point I'm making, somebody must watch my lips and say, note this matter. I say that the political actors in this country, they want to create a law for themselves. And that law is above the laws of this country. They make the laws for us, but they don't want to be bound by those laws. I read something about Bob Marley, who's a Rasta man, who lived in the uppermost high part of Jamaica. And when he was asked why, as a Rasta man, he didn't choose to live in the ghettos, he said that he noticed that they make the laws in the upper town. And when they finish, they go and enforce it down there. And so he decided to bring the ghetto to where the bourgeoisie and the lawmakers and wherever they live. And that's what's going to happen in this country. That we have lawmakers, we have actors, we have political decision makers who don't want to be bound by the same laws that they make for us. And it's a very dangerous thing that is happening in this country. That's my view of what's going on.
Let me just, gentlemen, I'm spreading this question across all three of you, but especially because Kwaku Paintil is the legally inclined person. I'll start with him. What does this say then about, the pace of proceedings? Some would say, look, and we're not trying to equalize on any front, but some would say Gyakye Quayson's matter has to be heard on a day-to-day basis, daily basis. Other matters are being accelerated through the court processes. The Attorney General, Minister of Justice, pushing on that front. Why are we not seeing same in this regard? And the special prosecutor and all of that. What does that say about our justicial system? Does it raise any red flags? Mr. Paintil, quickly on that so I can go to the other guests.
Yes. We say justice delayed is justice denied. So ideally, everybody want to have his case heard on a daily basis if we really had it. But the issue is, why only one particular case? Even though it raises some concerns, I'm thinking that when the law is bent in a situation where it favors you, you can't complain too much. That's my honest view about the matter. But it's my only hope that everybody will have his case determined on those bases. But please, I'm putting the proper context for you to realize that I think the last, for instance, the political, whatever, I'm talking about the challenge to the presidency of, the 2012 elections. You recognize that it took almost 2 or so years before a judgment eventually arrived. And after that, we all resolved that political, cases that go to court. You remember, those East Legon, among all of their cases, it took so long that by the time that judgment were delivered, then some of them even have served the term of office. In the case of Amon, he was found, for instance, to have been the winner of the election. So it was a resolution that we made as a country and the judiciary that political cases involving elections and so forth will be activated and will be expedited. So if possibly if we put it in that particular context, maybe that's the way I would say it. But ordinarily, it should not be limited only to political cases. It should be spread to cover everybody. So that's my view about that subject.
Dr. Asah, I'll come to you on the same matter. What do you make of this as far as our justicial system is concerned? And interestingly, keeping money to the tune of $1 million. Let's just imagine if this were happening en masse among ministers of state, members of parliament. Can you imagine what that would mean? It would mean that we're getting a drop in a bucket from the IMF when, in fact, those very people in governance have so much that they are hoarding, which could be impacting our system. In fact, there used to be some laws which spoke about intending to sabotage the economy of Ghana, and the consequences thereof were very steep. These were, so to speak, treasonable offenses. In this instance, how different is it And what is your reading as far as our justicial system is concerned? Dr. Asa?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, from a Nigeria side, a friend who works with the IMF said, hey, so Ghana, are you sure that now we have about 110 ministers or so now? If everybody is keeping $1 million, then all the IMF money then will go to ministers. I mean, that was at the low side of my chat with a friend who works with the IMF. But all is still scary to the point that, I mean, we are on our knees and then with our begging bowls around the world, and if we behave this way, it tries to confirm what Donald Trump said. If you hear or remember some of the quotes Donald Trump talked about in his campaign, that eventually made a lot of Americans to vote for him. It was stated this way, just to paraphrase it but not to quote him, that they are not just serious with a shithole country or continent. All what they know is that they just love sex and produce unnecessary human beings.
Dr. Assad, did you just use the S word, though? I think I heard you use it. If you did, I beg of you, you cannot use that on the platform.
I mean, I'm just making. He used it.
Yes, but we don't have to repeat it on the platform. Okay. I beg of you.
Then we produce unnecessary human beings on Earth, and when the Americans are sympathetic of us and give us money, our leaders would take it and come to America and spend it and enjoy like they Americans who have paid for it. I was just trying to be very literal on the statement he made. It was quite a bit insulting and quite a bit racist. But if you look at it from perspective and in the way we do things, that we are on our knees, we are begging for money, and our leaders can do this. It just confirms what Trump said. That's what I'm trying to bring up particularly. I'm sorry if the vulgar word used this morning is not good for others. But the point is this, that we are going around the world looking for money, and then our leaders can hoard up to $1 million in their bedrooms. It defeats all the effort that we are all doing to get money for this, the development of our people, and particularly the poor people. But let's take it from the angle that you are talking about. The fact that they have a position, and nobody can run away from the fact in this country, not this government, previous government, and previous government, that this whole common statement that we know of kickback has come to stay. And that is the unfortunate aspect of our political development, that it has become so obvious that kickback is very obvious, and it comes in, not in paid to people's bank accounts, but it is paid in cash. And a friend was just talking about how kickbacks are carried in these gas bags, like this Ghana must go back, and you see in people's offices. You see in people's offices, they are keeping all this money there, not in their homes alone, even offices. And we have to just be serious at one time and say that, look, we are not building a society that we can qualify to become ancestors. Our life everywhere, in terms of leadership, is just about, let's get my share. We seem not to believe in this particular jurisdiction and sovereignty that we have created called Ghana for ourselves. So you take all this money and you go to where to spend. And let's, excuse me, most often when we get this money, we are running to Europe and America, and they will discriminate you. They will be seen as a black man. There's no time, but I would have shared an experience with one of the African, West African ministers I was with in Bonn, in Germany. We're going around to buy watches for a souvenir to be given to his people. And he was talking about buying €1,000 watches to come and give a souvenir. And a German friend said, look, my brother, you are talking about buying over 20 of these watches, costing more than €1,000. Your country must be bleeding. He said it straight to his face. But in any case, in Europe, that we steal all this money, we do all these things and get all this money, we go, the white man, even if the white man doesn't have food to eat, he still see you as a black man because he sees that your country is not productive. So if you bring that money, it is not your toil. You are not worthy of that money. And they will still discriminate you, they still see you as a black man. So please, let's build our own country. Let's stop this routine. Let's stop this.
Right.
I mean, we're overdoing things, my brother.
Right. Let me come to Dr. Asah Asante. You know, I have seen cartoons of Nigerian politicians, you know, and we're talking Ghanaian politicians. I think you can't really extricate. We're practically the same. Sending money to the Swiss banks and others, they will not even use the money here to develop their country. In this instance, I mean, we cannot confirm where that money came from, how she acquired that money. So we'll leave that to the justicial system. That is, if it decides to go into it anyway, on the back of what Mr. President has said. But Dr. Kwame Asah Asante, doesn't it strike you as odd? A few days ago, we had Sam George, Member of Parliament for Dingo Pram Pram, in the studio with Samson Lade Anyenene, and he spoke about the fact that, look, there's a lot of money that is laundered, bad money, black money that is whitewashed in the real estate system. Now, you look at some of the property owned by politicians in this country, and if the taxman, the tax system were to go and ask, how did you put up this property worth millions and millions of dollars? So, according to Sam George, you whitewash your bad money by building real estate. The other politician comes to buy. He also whitewashes his money. You also go and start your own real estate system. And that is how the money gets whitewashed. Why are we not following up on these and we're rather increasing the taxes on the ordinary man? Related to what Cecily Abnadapa, has been mired in. What is your take? Hello, Doc.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
One of the problems associated with this type of issue we are dealing with is related to the issue of weak institutions. If we have institutions that are strong enough to deal with some of these problems, these things would have been a thing of the past. All right. There is a law in this country that even if you receive a gift, all right, you have to pay gift tax. Are these laws enforced? We have seen time and again, not only politicians, individuals. You see them, showing off that this person bought me a car of this, we know the price and all that. And you ask whether the tax institutions are going for them to ask them. Because in other jurisdictions, you'll be asked, how do you explain the unexplained wealth, all right? Is that what is happening here? We always have people who come to whitewash issues and then create a kind of, condition that really doesn't support our effort at fighting corruption head on. Tied to it is the processes that even people go through when we want to find out or get to the bottom of these issues. So it's a whole mixed bag that creates all manner of problems. But what is more important in this type of situation is the fact that we always, pride ourselves that we believe in certain rules of the game, i.e., we are talking about the good governance principle. We keep on harping on this issue. But what are some of the good governance concepts that we apply? Issue of what? Accountability is critical. That we should be able to account for the stewardship of office, right? So you only have to receive, money for the work that you have done. Such accountability oftentimes is not what we pay attention to. What is more interesting is that anytime we want to even render accounts, we do it on.
Hello, Doc. Can you hear me, Doc? All right. So yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Can you also hear me? Can I go ahead?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah. If institutions are really
All right, Doc, I guess we'll actually have to wrap the conversation. But gentlemen, Dr. Asah and Mr. Painter, just briefly, in some less than a minute, what would be your concluding thoughts? What are your expectations on this matter? What do you want to see? I'll start with you, Dr. Asah.
Yeah, I think I will expect a further investigation into this matter. Let's get to the bottom of it, and then I think at the end of the day, whatever that comes out will be a lesson for all of us. And as a country, we should also learn to see some of these things as lessons for individual of us. We should begin to see this country as a place for the future. And we are busy giving that to children. And if we want the future of the children to be like this, the distracting mood that we have started, we need to stop it and then begin to become decent, and particularly in politics. Leadership and this behavior of leadership, political leadership, to me doesn't guarantee the future of our democracy. And that's my fear, that we don't want to go back. And if the citizens begin to see that politics in Ghana means go and loot, and they are aware that this money belongs to them, because everybody in Ghana knows what is tax. And when they say tax, everybody is worried. And how do we get our money? It's through taxes. So Ghanaians are getting worried, and if by virtue of the fact that we go to the pool and vote and give you just sovereign power, and you have absolute control of the state, and you can use the state power to amass wealth, I think it will get a point where those voters will feel like, no, we will not vote again. And if we don't vote again, it means that democracy is going to be printed up. And we don't know which other way of leadership that will assist it. Because we have gone through the other way, we didn't like it, we have gone through democracy now. If democracy is also shown, it's red-headed by the actions. I don't think it's democracy that is shown ahead, but our actions are making democracy expensive and not reliable as a form of leadership in Africa. And that's my biggest worry as a development person. We go around and trying to see how we can grow this country. And by virtue of the fact that we have become a minister, it's like a license.
Right.
You just pick whatever you want. And I think that's my worry this morning. And I think we need to get a better distribution.
Thank you, Doc. Mr. Painter, you have the final bite in less than a minute, please.
Yes, I believe Mr. President has concluded this matter for all of us, because this event hasn't started somewhere in October. I believe we've got enough information, enough intelligence reports to believe that whatever we do at the end of the day, the past integrity will continue to stand. I believe the President has spoken for all Ghanaians. So we must not expect anything differently from that. Very simple.
Is that a sarcastic way of saying that the President has cast the die? He's delivered a verdict that maybe the judiciary should be delivering?
Let me tell you what. The President has got enough intelligence information. This thing didn't start last week. From October, for a President to come out to speak the way he spoke, I'm not sure he was being reckless at all. He's telling Ghanaians that whatever happens, nothing will be found. That's what he said. And if that's sarcasm, fair enough. Let it be. But this is Ghana. The President speaks the way he speaks. He knows what he's saying. And that's what it means. Either nothing will take place at all, or whatever takes place, the power will not be found liable. He has said it. And so I don't really expect anything going to come. But from a historical perspective, please, let me make this point. When Nkrumah was overthrown, and after the Declaration Committee was set up, there were two commissions, the Apollo Access Commission, then Annie Jage. They did investigations of Nkrumah's ministers. And I personally know that one Dr. Emmanuel Ayekumi, who was Kwame Nkrumah's economic advisor, he was adjudged as one of about 13 people who acquired all their assets lawfully. So as a matter of fact, that's also a possibility, except that the context in which this particular matter has been touched has put all politicians on the line. But as a matter of historical fact, you can find that evidence. Dr. Emmanuel Ayekumi, please go and research that on him.
Thank you, Mr. Painter, for the wealth of knowledge you've added to this show. We had joining the conversation Dr. Sumaila Asa, development expert, CK Tedam University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Dr. Kwame Asa-Asante, political scientist at the University of Ghana, and Mr. Kweku Painter, a lawyer. Still to come on the AM show, we're going to be telling you about the currency development series. We'll also engage APSA on the show. And there is this move. There's been a lot of talk about the private sector, about the middle class, about those knowledgeable people in governance and many different aspects of our economic life who just remain in their corners and enjoy their lives, that they are not speaking. Well, there's this conference coming up where some of them are going to be speaking and speaking to those issues that are crucial to our national life. I'll be engaging one of the speakers on the day right here on this show. But do stay, we'll be right back.
Blessed morning to you. Thank you so much for staying here on the AM show. I'm Bernice Abubedu-Lanza. It's now time for me to introduce you to two guests I have here. And we're going to have a conversation about the currency development dialogue. And they'll be telling you why it's important for us to focus on conversations such as that and what we tend to benefit from it. I've been joined by Professor Isaac Boedi. He's the Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance at the UPSA. And Dr. Eric Boakye-Yiadom, he's a senior lecturer at the same faculty at the UPSA. Let me say welcome to you, Doc and Prof. It's a pleasure to have you here. Let me start with you, Prof. I mean, basically, when you say currency development, what is it? And why are you having the currency development dialogue?
Thank you very much, Bernice. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in your studio. And good morning to your viewers as well. Foreign nations over the years have tried several times to overthrow the dollar. And this is the first time the status quo is challenged. And we think that it's important to have this dialogue series. So the Currency Development Dialogue Series seeks to explore some understanding in that area, in economic and political areas. And through panel discussions, through presentations, and audience participation, we are able to explore the relevance in this area and to help our listeners to understand what is happening in the global space.
Right. When it comes to business, the economy and finance, people usually say such a technical area, and it's difficult for their minds to grasp anything because obviously sometimes the jargons that are thrown in there are too many. How do you hope that this series or dialogue will contribute to a deeper understanding of financial and economic, conversations?
Yeah, I seem to agree with you. People are not well versed when it comes to some of these technical terms. That is why through this program, we are bringing the experts in this area to speak to our listeners. It's important that we come for this program just because we know that in the area that we find ourselves, this is the first time such an issue is going to be discussed. And when the status quo is challenged, we have experts who will come on that day to come and speak to us.
So, Prof just referenced how over the years countries have tried to overthrow the dollar. Your concept paper focused on that, but I would just like for you to tell us more about this trend and how the conversation we are having today will help in addressing it, and how the trend is even impacting global economic order.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I should say that we need to put the discussion into perspective. And the dollar has been dominant, just like Prof said, over the years. And a country's progress is measured by how much dollar you have. So we talk about the dollar reserve. Even in Ghana, I believe the next election is going to be basically on how we've managed our exchange rate. So the dominance of the dollar is very prominent. And although USA may not be in Ghana, but they can influence political leaders, you know. So these BRIC nations don't want to be so much driven by US and their policies. You know, we said that the cedi may be weak against the dollar, but probably because of the economic policies that are fashioned to strengthen the dollar. So it is important that we have a conversation around this to know how, if the BRIC currency is developed, how it's able to shift the dynamics of power in terms of the globe, and how, as Africa, we can also position ourselves in the debate. And I should mention that last week there was a report by the IMF that suggests that 10% appreciation in the dollar causes developing nations like Africa to our growth reduced by about 1.9%. So when the dollar is doing well, it means we are not doing well. So it may not even necessarily mean that we don't have good thinkers or good leaders to manage the dollar, but because probably the US are putting in policies that are making them stronger than us. So if the BRIC currency comes up, it is going to give currency options in the international trade. As we speak now, the US dollar constitutes about 84.3% of global trade. You know, so if we have an alternative currency, African countries may tend to look at it and it will reduce the demand for the US dollar. Therefore, the trend that the dollar is going needs to be, in a way, curtailed. You know, and that is the idea of the BRIC nations. And I think we have to have the conversation around.
You talk about how, even here, we have the dollar reserves, and quite recently we know what happened with that. We didn't have enough. We had to go to the IMF, you know, for balance of payments, blah, 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 blah. I understand what you say when you mean that these nations, especially the US, will have a certain level of control, even politically, because of the dominance of their currency among our nations. But haven't we also brought that on ourselves? I'll give you an example where we say that don't charge in dollars per se, don't take the hard dollar. If you even want to put your rates, and I'm talking about hotels, I'm talking about people who, you know, real estate developers and all that, and even some schools, right? Take it in the cedi equivalent, but you still have people breaking the law. So there's a lot of pressure we are putting even on ourselves. Don't you agree, Prof?
Yes, I do agree with you. Because of the way we do our transactions in our world today, that is why we have this problem. But then, if you have a program like this, that will foster understanding of economic and financial related issues, I'm sure we'll be able to have a lesson out of this. Because the BRICS control about 40% of the world's population. And it has a lot of economic implications when they're able to come together. Think about the major capital flow when they're able to form partnership. Think about the various modifications when it comes to currency reserves. It's a major problem. So this dialogue will be able to enhance our understanding when it comes to the issues that we are talking about.
Right, so you've just mentioned BRICS, and for those who don't understand, it's just a group of nations that are coming together, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China.
South Africa.
South Africa now. Okay, good. We have a representation in there. So these countries are hoping to come together to de-dollarize global trade. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. So are we not creating another monster then by these nations? I just want to understand, because you say that, okay, you want to overthrow the dollar, right? And then you have 5 or 6 nations coming together to do that. But won't that also create another situation where there will be too much power these countries will wield? I mean, just help us understand how it is more beneficial for you know, the de-dollarization attempt by these countries. Let me come to you, Doc, and I'll take your thoughts as well, Prof.
Okay, thank you. So, in the short term, it's going to ease pressure and the demand for the dollar.
Right.
But like you rightly mentioned, in the long term, the status quo will come back. If we so much depend on this BRIC currency, if it is developed, you know. So what is happening is that it also informed the conversation in Africa that our common currency that we've been trying to do over the years, it is the time, or it is appropriate that we bring a currency that will facilitate trade. So as far as we continue to depend on somebody's currency, you can easily be influenced. So bringing the African currency, common currency development into perspective would help, especially at this time. But other than that, in the long term, it is just trading one risk, the dollar risk for the break currency risk, and the status quo will come back.
Prof, what are your thoughts?
I seem to share the same idea. We have created our own monster, as you said. But this is a time that a program like this, when issues are discussed, policymakers will learn a lot out of this program. Because, well, we are, having a concept called ECHO. And that is what African countries, as West Africa, we want to now.
I heard about that when I was in primary school.
Wow.
So, it's been a long time coming.
Right. So we've kept long because we don't have lessons. This is a test case. That's what we believe in academia. Now let's have a case study and see how we'll be able to navigate the experience and challenges that the other model want to use, and then we'll learn out of that.
So tell us in practical terms what the dynamics will look at. Let's say BRICS succeed, right, Prof? How would it play on the international front? Let's talk about the geopolitics and how everything is likely to change. Just paint a mental picture for us.
We are likely to have modifications when it comes to international capital flow will be affected. And there will also be a shift in terms of the trading patterns. And then we're also looking at variations when it comes to exchange rates will also be impacted. And then we also will have issues when it comes to preferences for different reserves, currencies. These are some of the things that we think that when they're able to come together, we are going to have these challenges.
Now, let me come to you, Doc. There's some evidence to suggest that dominant currencies over the time eventually will give way to other ones. Let's look at the euro and the Chinese yuan. Do you think they are on the path to replacing the dollar anytime soon, especially within the century that we are in?
Yes, and the history from the past 500 years suggests so, that for every 100 years, a new currency emerges. And we can talk about the British pound, we can talk about the US dollar since the First World War, that has been dominant. And the US dollar became dominant from the First World War because US became economic powerhouse. So the economic control of a currency determines how it leads the global discussion, And I should say that between the euro and the Chinese yuan, currently the EU controls about 16.5 trillion in terms of the economy, and China is controlling about 26 trillion. What it means is that in as much as the euro seems stronger, the Chinese yuan is more possible because of its dominance. It has a global share. China is now the world economy leading in terms of GDP. So if we are talking about economic strength and the trend for the past 500 years, it is more feasible and it's more possible for the Chinese yuan to control the world rather than the euro.
Interesting. So, this is just a foretaste of what is going to be happening at the Currency Development Series. But Prof, we've been talking about Africa developing a currency and all that. What can we learn from what the BRICS nations have done?
In fact, we often will say that we learn from the best practices. This is a great case studies that we, in academia, policymakers need to also get themselves involved, because lessons out of this and experiences, challenges, will profile some ideas and suggestions for our own currency that we want to try to propagate. So lesson out of the BRICS will help us. It's a good model that we want to, we'll learn lesson out of during this dialogue series.
And Doc, you want to add what lessons we can also take in trying to have this unified African front, which we've been talking about for many years now. What can we learn from what the BRICS have done or have been doing towards, achieving their own goal?
I can talk about 3 things. Number 1, we need a political will. There's politics in this, and we need to have a will of this is what Africa wants to do. This is the African policy, and that means that the rest of us need to come together to make it work. Number 2, we need the institutional arrangement in place. We have the AFTA that is promoting trade. We can have a consensus. We have an agreement that because of these are the institutional things we want to put in place. So the political will and the institutional framework to make it work. Other than that, it will just be the next generation will come and hear about ECO and it will still not see the day of light.
Well, this is a very interesting conversation considering the times we find ourselves in as a nation. Talk about our going to the IMF and the current conversations about people keeping, hard currencies in their homes and all the implications and all that. I won't put you there. I won't put you on the spot, Doc and Prof. But just share details, Dr. Boyede, with us of the program, who is going to be speaking, why it's important that people pay attention to conversations like these, and also how we can catch it if you're not able to attend in person.
Yes, the program will be organized the 27th of this month. And that will be at 11 o'clock at the UPSA West Wing of the auditorium. Speakers such as Professor Vladimir Anchidanso will look at the geopolitics of the digitalization. Then we also have now Dr. Dani, who is also a household name now. He'll also be on the bill. And then we have the WAMI, the West Africa Monetary Institution, the country director. He will also be there. And then we have a rep from FIC, that's a financial intelligence unit of the Bank of Ghana. So these are the players, or these are the speakers who will be on the podium. Yeah.
Right. And if you're not able to be there in person, at 11 a.m. on the 27th it is, but do you have any online arrangements? Can people watch it online? Is there such an arrangement, Doc?
Yes, we are expecting Joy. Okay. Joy will be carried live. So
okay.
If you connect to Joy, you'll be able to see what is happening.
Right, fantastic. Any last words?
Bernice, we also want to thank your outfit for the support. And we want to encourage viewers to be there on the 27th. This is a maiden edition. We have series of programs to be organized by the faculty, and we want to invite individuals to follow us and listen to our program.
Yes, so I want to also say thank you to Access Bank for sponsoring us and Abokobi Rural Bank for the support. We are grateful to them.
Right, thank you for gracing our studios this morning. That's Prof. Isaac Boyede. To my far left, Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance at the UPSA, and Dr. Eric Boakye is a senior lecturer at the same faculty of the UPSA. And we've been talking about the currency development dialogue. Really interesting conversation you should pay attention to. So it's on the 27th of July. If you're not able to get to the West Wing of the UPSA auditorium, just stay glued to your TV. Here on Joy News, we will be bringing you that very interesting conversation. Well, that'll be it for our currency development conversation, but we've got a date with Absa Bank shortly. Do stay. It's always a pleasure to have you here on the AM show. Thanks for staying. And as part of its innate culture of always staying ahead of competition and meeting customers at the point of need, Absa Bank Ghana has launched a game-changing financial services platform for its corporate and institutional customers in Ghana and the SAP region. Now, the platform Absa Access is touted as the answer to the often insatiable quest by customers for a more bespoke and 360 financial services platform that addresses every need or request. This morning, I've been joined by Kobna Amoah. He's head corporate digital channels at Absa Bank. He will help us make some sense of all of this. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So first off, just tell us what Absa Access is.
Okay. So, two things are, a given. Clients constantly are looking at best ways of banking. How do you provide a solution that presents a one-stop platform that clients can then interact with the bank, having a view of their corporate and investment banking products and services. And that's key. Again, you have a market that is constantly changing, and the market dynamic demands that we also constantly look out for what are the new trends, what are the new ways in which we can service our clients better. So it is on this footing that Absa Access was developed, which is Absa Access essentially is our corporate digital platform that provides our clients with an end-to-end view of corporate and investment banking products and services seamlessly from a single channel with a multi-channel experience. Absa Access, again, is in two parts. So we have the Absa Access host solution. This essentially allows our clients to integrate their enterprise resource planning applications. So if you take your Oracle, your SAP, large corporates that have shared service centers where they're dealing in high volume transactions, they want to have up to the minute view of transactions. Absa Access Host provides that ability to seamlessly integrate securely into the bank's backend applications and downstream systems. And then clients can then initiate transactions straight through to the bank via the secure channel. They receive, payment status reports.
Okay.
That gives you a view of the status of transactions that you're processing, your statements that you also receive in different formats. So basically, this is what Host does. Then in the same vein, you have the Absa Access Online, which essentially is a web-based system that allows our clients to log in to a web environment, and there you also have access to all your corporate and investment banking products and services, be they payments, be they information services, and the whole nine yards.
And this is also available for mobile devices?
So what we've done, again, thinking about Absa Access as a corporate channel,
right,
we leverage a mobile solution that allows clients to do two things, which is to remotely and securely log into the channel. So when you're using the web system, we have what we call the mobile two-factor authentication. And it allows you then to log in from pretty much any computer device, provided you have your internet access. Your cell phone then becomes your second factor.
Okay.
So we have the Absa Access mobile app, which you download from the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS store. And once you install it, you pair your login profile with your device.
Okay.
So each time you make a login attempt, you enter your username and password, the system throws a passcode to your mobile device. And that's what then you use to complete the login process.
Like a two-factor authentication.
Absolutely. So that presents a high-level security system to our clients, because then nobody can surreptitiously log into the channel as you and do anything fraudulent. Additionally, the same Absa Access mobile app allows our clients to also do mobile payment authorization. So where you have mobile top executives, people who are constantly on the move, you may not always have these individuals seated in the office or available to do payment authorizations, etc. So the mobile app authorization then allows these executives to then launch the mobile app. They can then navigate to the location where the transactions are pending approval, and they can approve them. So this then ensures that there's no waiting time between when transactions are submitted to approvers and there's no delays with payment, your supplier payments and salaries and things are delaying because the boss is not around to approve it. It provides the seamless
and virtual
solution.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So you've just told us a bit about the products and services that are available on Absa Access, but does it support bulk mobile payments?
Absolutely. And again, you recognize that mobile plays, a center stage in the entire payment ecosystem in this country. And given that, truth, the fact then becomes, how do you leverage the opportunity that mobile presents to give clients a solution that then allows them to initiate mobile payments that terminate directly into the mobile wallets of individuals.
Yeah.
So this is what we've achieved with the Absa Access bulk mobile disbursements, where we've partnered all three MNOs, MTN, Vodafone, AT, in order to develop what we consider as a groundbreaking payment solution that integrates directly into all three MNOs. So our clients then can sit in the comfort of their offices, initiate bulk mobile payments, and once you initiate the payment, it goes through an authorization process. Within a matter of minutes, the individual mobile wallets get credited immediately. You have view of the entire transaction that you've processed within a space of time. You can download transaction status reports that gives you a view which ones were successful, which ones were not. Yeah. If there are any failures because a wallet ID is not registered in the name of that individual, it auto reverses onto your account. So that then gives you ease of reconciliation because you have a view of transactions that were successful and those ones that were unsuccessful and for what reason. And this runs across all mobile networks. Right. So that's one of the key things that we've done with Absa Access.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I get the sense that this is for larger corporations and organizations and not necessarily individuals, right?
Yes. So again, Absa, we looking at the entire value chain of clients that we cater to, we have a solution that caters at every level of that value chain. Right. So Absa Access principally is a corporate payment platform. So that caters to our large corporates, our commercial clients, business banking clients, SMEs, to some extent. And that's basically what Absa Access seeks to do.
Okay, so I mean, there's somebody who may be watching who's not a client of Absa, but is quite interested in this, or there may be already clients who still want to get onto the platform. So practically, how does one get onto Absa Access?
Yeah, good question. So onboarding of clients is a fairly simple process. The client completes an online smart PDF form that captures relevant details of the client, comes with drop-down and radio buttons, etc. So you essentially check the services that you require. Once that form is completed and is submitted to the bank, it goes through an onboarding process where we actually then profile the client based on the requirements that you indicated on the form.
Okay.
Individuals that then become users on the channel, whether they are payment initiators, whether they are only supposed to generate statements at the end of the month for reconciliation, whether they are processing salaries or supplier payments, foreign currency payments, all of these entitlements, bulk mobile disbursements, would then be assigned to the individuals, which then entitles them to log on and perform that action.
Okay.
So once all of that is done, the users would automatically receive an invite, which comes to you via email. So it's triggered directly to your email with a security code. And it is with that security code that then you go onto the Absa Access online platform and register your profile onto the channel. Download your digital certificates and all of those things that allow you to securely transact with the bank.
Right.
So it's a fairly simple process. The channel is highly intuitive. And one of the key things that we've also built into it is an adaptable machine learning capability, which essentially helps to track, trends of usage of the channel.
Okay.
So over time, we are able to tell what are the key things that clients are doing, what are the difficulties that they are running into, and that informs our further development within the channel. So there's a constant review of the channel capability, how it's serving our clients, and what we can do better to, present a better experience to
Fantastic. So how do we get the forms that you just referenced, the PDF forms online? How does one get it?
So again, our clients are relationship managed from a corporate perspective. Right. So typically our relationship team or coverage teams will then interact with the clients and share these forms with them. And once they complete it, they submit it to the bank, and then we process on their behalf.
All right. So if you're watching us and you're interested, just find any ABSA.
Any branch, any branch location would be happy to support
assist you, right?
Or refer to the relevant teams to assist.
All right. So quickly, in wrapping up the conversation, how does ABSA Access support biller and regulatory payments?
Yeah. So again, that's another key solution within the ABSA Access channel framework. The verified biller solution, which then allows us to essentially connect our payers and collectors. So you want to make a GRA payment, you're a corporate, you want to make your SEPS payment, you want to make Ghana Water, ECG payments, etc. This is what verified biller does. It's bringing all of these collecting institutions together on a single platform that then allows our clients to make payments directly to these institutions. So your obligatory payments, you're just logging onto the system, you have a unique customer code that you enter. Once you do, it fetches your obligation to that institution.
Okay.
And then it puts in an automatic narration as has already been built. You pay against that obligation. It auto-generates a receipt for you in real time. So through an API solution, we have built integrations across, Ghana.gov and all the other channels that then allows you to initiate your verified bill.
This sounds really exciting. This sounds really exciting, I beg your pardon, because then you're looking at all the workload you have to do on one platform and is integrated as well. Absolutely. So this will take a lot of burden off your shoulders as a corporate institution. But
it's really about putting power in the hands of the client, so that you can do what you really ought to be doing, which is generating your business and not being bothered with having banking services that are scattered across many channels and many platforms.
And so finally, as a business, how can ABSA Access support trade payments?
Again, within the ABSA Access channel framework, we have what we call the Trade Management Online. So similarly, once we onboard a client and TMO or Trade Management Online is a service that you require, then that is built as part of your client profile. So you're logging onto the same single sign-on, platform, and then you can initiate all your trade finance transactions, be they bank guarantees, letters of credit, documentary collections, all of your trade finance services within the ABSA Access channel framework.
In giving your final words, though, sorry for interjecting. In giving your final words, though, I'd like you to incorporate this in there. We know that we have to pay for the platform and the service, but I hope it's manageable. How much do clients have to part with in accessing this platform?
So again, typically our clients, as I said, relationship managed clients. So our pricing then, is not, one size fits all kind of pricing. Okay. We do have a standard pricing for all services, okay? But onboarding onto ABSA Access comes at no cost to our clients. Yes, because essentially, what you're doing is providing a value-added service to the client. So then that empowers the client to do all their transactions with the bank, and that's basically what we're looking at.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Do you have final words?
So, at ABSA, we say that we are empowering Africa's tomorrow together, one story at a time. So this is what sort of forms the ethos of everything that we're doing. that we're constantly looking at ways in which we can advance the frontiers of what we're doing in terms of how we support our clients, how we empower them, and how we place value on their business. That's what we do.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And that's
Pleasure.
Kobina Amoah. He's head corporate digital channels, Absa Bank, and he's been sharing details of the new product, Absa Access. You can visit any Absa branch close to you and get more details there. We'll take a quick breather now, go sip on some water. We'll be back with more. Do stay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, there's been a lot of talk about those in private enterprise, those in the middle class, those who have a say on how the economy is shaped up and on governance issues, speaking up, speaking to the issues, and their deafening silence. Well, they've risen to the occasion, and we're talking about whether the Fourth Republic has delivered in that public speaking event by an amalgam of professional bodies in Ghana. Now, we'll be having that event in just a few days' time, but one of the speakers who is going to be speaking to the issues, Akosua Bame, joins us via Zoom. A very good morning to you, Akosua.
Good morning, Ben.
So this is a reflective, a transformative event that is going to be held. I can't wait. I am just sitting on pins and needles till when it comes to bear. But you are one of the speakers. I just want to find out from you, from that standpoint you're going to be speaking, that renewed mindset, what are you looking at when you see Ghana today in terms of our mindset? Now we're talking about a former minister hoarding money at home and all of that. But the mindset of the ordinary Ghanaian, the mindset of leadership, and what should be transformed? Where do we start?
Okay, 3 or so questions in there, so I'll start with the mindset of the ordinary Ghanaian. Okay, what I would say is that in terms of Ghana, we don't even have a Ghanaian identity at the moment, and that in itself is driving the nature of what we see. So if I ask the average Ghanaian, what does it mean to be Ghanaian? We don't have a value or belief system that is held nationally. So the mindset of the average Ghanaian is actually more of a dependency mindset, and we are living in the country as inhabitants, not citizens. And I'll explain the difference very quickly. If you have a house and you've got rooms in there, and the people in there are just living in there together, there are no rules, there's nothing that coordinates or binds those people. That's a house with inhabitants. What makes a house a home is when people live in it as a family. The difference between living as a family and living as an inhabitant within a house is that you subscribe to a common value system. You subscribe to a common belief system. You subscribe to rules and regulations. We know what we do here in this home and what is not acceptable. I would suggest that the average Ghanaian, we don't have that defined at a national level anyway, and therefore we are not living to those standards. And what we are living to is really something that has evolved potentially and predominantly through our slavery mindset, as well as embracing capitalist ideals, hook, line, and sinker, as though that is what is actually needed within our country. So at the moment, the average Ghanaian, I would say, has a dependency mindset, and our leaders have an entitlement mindset. That's what we are plagued with at this point in time.
How then do we disabuse our minds of this negative mindset and take on some sort of renewed mindset? Look, today I was reading a story about the fourth industrial revolution, and some would even stretch it and say the fifth. But you ask yourself, as Africans, as Ghanaians, where do we find ourselves? Have we even got on the front of the first industrial wave, so to speak? So what will it take to renew our minds to get to that level where we can spur on development in Ghana?
It would have to be education. It would have to be an engagement. But most importantly, you cannot change a mindset in a vacuum. We need to change the lived experiences. Mindsets are formed through lived experiences. You have a value and a belief system. Say you're working within an organization. You have your own concept as to what will give you a promotion within that organization. Now, when you take those steps and you actually get rewarded with a promotion, that becomes a lived experience that reinforces those values and beliefs you held in the first place. What we need to actually imbibe within our system is engaging citizens at practical levels to be part of the nation building agenda. So the nation is not being built in isolation by government. We cannot sit back as citizens who form over whatever of the population, 95%, 98%, maybe 2% are the ones in leadership positions. We cannot sit back and expect that the government or the leaders will be able to transform the country when we are not ready to transform our thinking. And we cannot transform our thinking without transforming our values and beliefs. So the starting point is to define at a national level, what does Ghana stand for? What is the expectation of the average citizen? How do we expect citizens to behave? And on the basis of how they expected to behave, what values and belief systems do they need to hold in order to behave in that way? Then it's through a process of education, through a process of community engagement projects, through a process of entertainment, anything that gives citizens the right information and the right tools to act in certain ways, to then change their lived experiences, which then reinforces the values and beliefs that we hold dear. Because if we have a value system that says you need to work hard, but when you work hard, you're rewarded for your work, well, we need to make the experience for citizens such that when they work hard, they do get the values and the rewards that they are looking for. And so that is about changing the lived experiences, and it's a multi-pronged attack through community projects, educational systems, particularly catching our children very young. We need to start imbibing them with the right values and beliefs, not what we have created for ourselves now.
So interesting developments, topical issues you're going to be discussing, and prominent there, has the Fourth Republic delivered? I don't know, I'll ask you for a sneak peek. You're going to be one of the panelists together with Professor Noel Tego, as well as David Ofosu-Dorte. All of you are going to be on the panel with Yao Nsako as the main speaker and Maoko Afajinu hosting or moderating the event. But if I put that question to you for a sneak peek, has the Fourth Republic delivered? What insight would you share?
So what insight would I share? Well, I would share a few things. Basically, when we say have the Fourth Republic delivered, what agenda are we talking about? We're talking about the Constitution, the basic level of human rights, food, water, clothing, shelter. We're not talking about anything superfluous. On that basic level, we have food security constantly under threat. We are dependent on imports of food. We unashamedly announce that because there's a war with Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia, our food security is at threat. Water security. Look at the water bodies and what's happening with that. The Galamsey issue, and we're turning a blind eye. Open defecation at 20% plus. We have a predominant proportion of our citizens sleeping in kiosks. So I ask you to judge for yourself on the basis of just these little indicators. Do we really believe that we have delivered to the basic human rights of food, clothing, shelter, water? I would say no.
Well, we can look forward to more details on this as we host that amalgam of professional bodies organizing this public speaking event. It's tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. at the British Council. Tomorrow, of course. And any final words? Any whet our appetite? You're going to be there. What can we expect on the night when this takes place?
Oh, you can expect an honest, robust discussion. It's not about being critical of anyone. It's about we are supposed to have been on a nation building agenda right from independence. We've decided to take the Fourth Republic as the review period because that's when substantiality of democracy happens. And it's important. I mean, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you will get the same results. And we need to ask ourselves, are we getting the results that we need? Are we getting the results that we want as a nation? If we're not getting the results as we want as a nation, then it necessitates change. And which means we must evaluate where we've come from in order not to repeat the same mistakes. As Albert Einstein said, it's the height of insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect to get a different result. It's time for different results. It's time to change the mindset, to get the right mindset for nation building so we get the nation that we want. That's really the crux of the matter.
So, has the Fourth Republic delivered? Ghana, for the verdict is out there, but tomorrow, make tracks. It's at the British Council, 6:30 in the evening. We'll be capturing part of that live on this network, letting you know what exactly the conversation is going to be. Akosua Bame, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, and Akosua Bame is going to be one of the panelists together with Professor Noel Tego and David Ofosu-Dorte. The moderator for that event, Mauko Afajino. You want to join them tomorrow as we bring you that sneak peek here on this channel. But if you can make tracks to that venue as well, the British Council, you can get everything. Well, that is how we draw the curtains on our show this morning. But before we go, you do know that water is life. I cannot leave without reminding you that water is life. And what water do you choose? I'll proffer one for you. Awake Purified Drinking Water. It is water purified through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. And there's more. If you're looking at different sizes, different strokes for different folks, right? So if you want something very small for your child going to school, 330 ml, and you're sorted out, they are 500 milliliters, 750 milliliters, 1.5 liters as well for those who always want more. But there's even more. If you're thinking of something sizable for your office or your home, your dispenser, they've got you covered. 19-liter jar bottles that are fit for purpose. So all you need to do now is stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water. And remember, the heartwarming aspect for me, it is one for life. For every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. You know how expensive treating heart disease is. And so by buying a bottle of Awake Water, you contribute to the kitty so that those who can't afford it can get treatment. It's another quality product from Casapreco Company Limited. If you'd like to reach out to them or purchase in bulk, call them on 0262 351 251. 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. And the show, we know, is approved by you, Ghana 4. Thank you so much for watching us this morning. We'll be back same time tomorrow. Bernice and Benjamin. But up next, Joy News Desk. Stay for that.